Before we get into the show, guys, next week I'm away in Japan, and it is obviously a public holiday, so there most likely won't be a Monday show. So, hopefully you'll be able to get through the week without the Monday show. But let's get straight into it, shall we?
Just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar. And before we get into it, the biggest sale in the history of Bloke is tonight, Monday, 6 p.m. It is 50% off everything, including the brand new shirts. It's a cricket drop, guys. The good area shirts. As you can see, I'm wearing the grey version. There's also a white version. We're also a singlet version of these shirts. Plus, we've got the hats as well. It's 50% off everything, including the new stuff. And so it's basically until we've got like little bits of leftovers from old drops. So you want to get in quick because once it's gone, it's gone. It's not coming back. All the drops we do, guys, we don't like to bring things back around. It's 50% off absolutely everything, including the new stuff at bloke.shop. Do not miss out. As you know, guys, we don't do sales barely ever. On top of all that, it's 25% off everything at Grumpy. That's right, whole beans, pods, ground, you name it. Go to grumpycoffee.com.au. It's 25% off everything there. Make sure to grab some Grumpy coffee. And once again, we do not do sales very often. The Grumpy coffee one, we may never do again. It's just thought, you know what? Let's just throw her in. We've never done a Grumpy coffee sale before, so make sure to be there. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. We are this close to 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. I think we're like 50 short. So head over to YouTube. If you've ever enjoyed the show, head over to YouTube, hit that like and subscribe button. Get us to 50K. It'll be a huge moment for us. We would really appreciate it. And it's a massive thank you for all the support up to this point, guys. We really do appreciate it. But the great Rui's here. How you going, mate?
I'm good, mate. Trials not too far away. It's starting to get a rugby league smell to it now.
I tell you what, I'm almost getting nervous. It's almost like that anxiety before a big night. Yeah. You're excited for it, but you're almost like, what's going to happen here, baby?
CBA season incoming.
Oh, yeah. CBA, have you got your eye on a few? Timmy, how you going, mate?
I'm good, mate. We're less than a month until the pre-season challenge and a bit of footy kicks off. And if you asked what is the ideal way to kick off the pre-season challenge, what would it be, you reckon?
I don't know. What do you reckon?
Well, if you were asking most footy fans, I reckon they'd say Panthers and Raiders at Shark Park. And you better believe the NRL have delivered. We've got a double header.
A double header to start. It doesn't get much better than that. Hammy, how you going, mate?
Very well, Kempy. Actually a bit surprised to see you here. When I heard there was a Broncos legend going into the jungle, I thought, well, here we go. We're going to be without our fearless leader for a couple of weeks. But nice to see you here, nonetheless.
Look, they came and knocked and I just said, I've got the community to talk about. Yep. I think you actually have to be a celebrity to go to that shit, so it's called I'm a Celebrity, get him out. So I don't think I qualify, unfortunately.
And there's only so much budget they got on that show to match your appearance fee as
Turn
well.
it up. Turn it up. Matty, how you going, brother?
I'm good. I've just had a look, Timmy. There's the first two games are at Shark Park, but they're actually one day apart for some reason.
Different nights.
So you go to the game, go to Shark Park, find parking somehow, watch the game, leave, and then do it all again the next night.
Go to Northies, come back, do it again, Sharks Warriors.
Double header over 2 days. It's very strange.
That's so
Look,
odd.
but it's marketing. It's all marketing, baby. I love it. Get the people there, then hoodwink them in to come back the next day. Love that stuff.
Magic round at Shark Park.
Guys, and also, look, huge announcement. I am headed to Japan tomorrow. Brought to you by KO. KO has sent me over to Japan. I've got a really, really cool vlog planned. So a massive thank you to KO, a partner of the show this year. On top of all that, make sure to watch the 9PL on KO this week. That's right, guys. A lot of ex-NRL players in a Nines tournament. It's actually relatively high-quality footy because you've got ex-players that are still really fit. The last time I watched it last year, it was a bloody good watch. And it's going to be live on KO this year, guys. So make sure to tune in. And as I said, I'm heading to Japan thanks to KO. Best in the business, guys. Really appreciate that. And I can't wait for the vlogs that I've got planned, or the vlog I've got planned for over in Japan. It's all thanks to KO. So, as I said, a massive thank you to KO for that. But let's face a bit of music, eh? Let's face a bit of music brought to you by Sportsbet.
Let's do it.
Oh, also, give us a follow on the feed. Had a big week on the feed.
Yep.
Had a big week on the feed. I think I got like 200 or 300 followers.
Yep.
So get around me. And I also, a lot of people, you know what's funny is like whenever I do anything outside of rugby league, I'll always get a message or two or maybe 10 basically like, I stick to rugby league and shut up. And, when I talk about MMA or UFC. And so you just get used to it.
Yeah.
I'm all like, well, stick to me and a Sparky. It's like, bruh, how are you more qualified to say who was allowed to talk about UFC? Anyway, I got this one message a week ago and he just like, are you selling the same crack you're using when you make these picks? Hey, bruh, just went 4 from 4, so thanks for coming.
Yep. Well played. Get around Kempy on the feed.
1-0 to Kempy.
Let's have a look at the scores from last week. Some great analysis from the panel last week on the 311 card.
We even got a title fight wrong, and that was due to me. I can't believe I got that wrong.
There was a late change, wasn't there?
Yeah. That title fight, that was always going ahead. Yeah. So that was me. That was on me.
I thought you had that wrong. I didn't want to embarrass you.
Well, here we go. So, Jury v. Hill. Jury defeated Hill by TKO in round 3. Rue and Kempy, you both had Jury. Kempy, you had the TKO. You had the wrong round, though.
I had round 2, though.
You had round 2.
I had that on my bet, too. And he nearly dropped in round 1.
Yep.
Then he dropped in round 3. Shit!
Now, Rue had Jury. He had the wrong method of victory, but he had the right round. So, I've given him a point.
That's half a point.
He had submission, but he had round 3.
That's half a point.
Well, I gave him a full point.
Oh, Jesus. That's nonsense.
You're my boy, Rue.
There's already a corruption going on.
You guys both got 2 points. The rest of us missed out in the first one. Now, Umar Marab in an upset in this one. Big upset. Everyone had Umar. So,
Well, I actually bet on Marab.
What's going on?
Well, because I get punting. This is why you should follow him in the feed. Because Umar definitely should have been the favourite.
Yep.
But Marab, he's the champion, and also he's actually been in more 5-round fights. And so the value for Marab, he was on paying 347, and so that's why I got a Marab and I got up.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm more of an Umar Gull fan, anyway, personally. But that's just me. Now, Makachev in the main one. Most of us had him to win and win by submission. Matty had a decision, but no one had him to win by submission in round 1, which is what happened. So finished it very quickly.
To be fair, though, it was at that stage we were talking about Armin rather than Moikana.
It was. And I obviously would have adjusted to round 1 had I known this is who he was fighting, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. So 2 points for all of us there, apart from Matty, who got the 1. So this week, Denon and Rue, 4 points. Myself and Timmy, 2 points. Matty gets 1 point. Just some updates around.
Hey, hang on a sec. Rue should be 0.5 a point.
I think I should be 4.5, yeah.
No, you should be 3.5 because you said submission.
Yeah, but remember I said Rue's my boy earlier. I gave him the full point. So that's kind of
This is nonsense. But Mr. Consistent, once again, I'm in the top 2 all the time.
These two are conspiring, Kempy. It's been going on for a while.
It is getting a bit weird. It is getting a bit strange. What's going on with that?
Beard Brothers. Grow some facial hair and reap the rewards of the line calls.
We need to unite Kempy's Beak Brothers.
We've got a beard. I've always said this, the beard is a push-up bra for blokes. Because it makes you look like you got a chin that you don't have, baby.
Yeah.
Just look, if you got a double chin like me when I go like that.
What are they hiding under there?
Yeah, exactly. What is it? Probably not much of a chin.
I don't want to speak for Rube, but when you've got a pill like mine, you cover it in as much hair and glasses as you possibly can, just to give yourself a fighting chance.
You come in next week with like glasses this big and just a beard.
Yep. Watch this space. Hey, just around the grounds, because we obviously put some tennis tips in as well.
Yes.
Everyone is still alive in the women's side of the draw, which is good news. Everyone apart from myself is still alive in the men's side of the draw. I had Medvedev, who smashed a camera on the way out as well.
It was 150 grand fine as well for his trouble, 120 grand fine.
And that's really going to hurt a bloke who's worth $120 million, isn't it? But anyway, he made a bit of a disgrace for himself. Big bash. We had some of our chickens have come home to roost for the futures betting we had there. Timmy didn't put any bets in, so his chickens came home to roost weeks ago. But Matty's the only one alive still with a team in the comp. He's got the Sydney Thunder, and he also had Spencer Johnson to be the top heat wicket taker as well. So he's got an extra point there for his cumulative score.
And Sydney Thunder were the 3rd lowest rated team. So it's an absolute upset for them.
Oh my God.
Value Hunter.
Carry on. Jeez.
So overall 2025, Matty's on 5, Denon's on 5, Timmy's on 4, Rue's on 3, myself on 2.
Geez, the whole season I'm in the top 2. I'm already in the top 2 here. Multiple different sports.
A good start.
I get it. I get sport.
You've done well to be one spot in front of me. I gave you a week head start.
Also, guys, what we'll be doing as well with Face the Music this year, we will be doing a punishment each month. And on top of that, we will most likely be in Vegas. There will most likely be a bloke show in Vegas. And the punishment in Vegas, whoever loses a tipping is getting...
They will be off to the Heart Attack Grill to get their ass spanked by a professional.
By a professional.
Yeah, a fully trained, qualified professional.
Don't try this at home.
No, Willie. No, exactly.
Unless you like that kind of thing.
Guru's going to start throwing face the music.
No need for the arseless chaps, Guru. Jeez.
Guru, why didn't you put your tips in?
Oh, silly me.
Alrighty, that's Face Your Music brought to you by our friends over at Sportsbet. Give Hammy a follow on the feed.
Yep.
Give myself a follow on the feed. Big plans with Sportsbet as well this year. Partners again for the year, which is always great.
Yep.
But we've got some awesome plans with Sportsbet, including in a few weeks' time. We can't say what it is, but the good thing with Sportsbet, they got access to some really cool stuff, which we will be doing in a few weeks, guys, so stay tuned to that. Alrighty, let's get straight into it, shall we? Dylan Brown. An email was leaked where Dylan Brown manager was shopping him around to other clubs from 2026 onwards. He has a favour in his. He has an option in his contract to stay at the Eels if he has to decide by May. Eels head of football Mark O'Neill says he's confident that Brown will take up his option. Brown's management also reportedly offered his services to the Wallabies ahead of 2027 World Cup. There's a multiple different interesting parts about this story. First of all, obviously the fact that it's not a fait accompli. Is that how you say it? A fait accompli?
Yep, très bien. Yep.
Yeah, thank you. That he is staying at the Eels, even though I do think he will. We'll get into that. But also the dirty side of the transfer market. The fact that this got leaked within minutes of being sent out. And then the second email, the follow-up email of the manager getting angry about the first email getting leaked, got leaked also. It shows you the dirty underbelly of, we all just kind of think that when teams get on the field, that's where the battle is done. But there is so much underhandedness happening off the field of trying to disrupt salary caps and trying to create dramas at other clubs. Like, there is no doubt in my mind, whichever club leaked it, the sole purpose of that leak, well, not no doubt, I am speculating, but I would assume the sole purpose of that leak was to create problems at the Eels. Why else would you leak something like that? So there's got two kind of parts to this. But let's get to the first part in regards to Dylan Brown. Look, I think that from a perspective of it almost crazy for his manager not to send the email out. I understand the idea of, if everything was hunky-dory and if the Eels were looking to go for a premiership and they were in a grand final the year before, it's probably not likely that this would happen. For example, at the Penrith Panthers, I don't think this would happen because everyone kind of wants to stay. So you could make the argument that it's a little bit of a concern that he's still considering his options. However, I think that's only reasonable. We live... a bit of a fairy tale if you expect the Eels, who have struggled for 2 years now, that one of their best young up-and-coming players, managers, isn't going to at least see what's out there at the moment. Even though when I say all that, I actually think Dylan Brown will stay. I actually also think, and I'm happy to say I'm wrong if that doesn't prove to be the case, I also think this is more just about them getting a normal contract for maybe 2 to 3 years at his market value. The only reason you sign long deals like that with all those strange options that are in the player's favour is if you're getting paid unders. And I think that's what happened because it happened after the grand final. Rue, what do you think about the whole situation, mate?
Yeah, it's been fun to watch the last week or so.
Yep.
It's been a reasonably quiet week, so this is sort of dominated. Look, I think we all knew what this contract looked like, or we found out a few months ago it was going to look like, and I reckon we're probably going to be having this same conversation over the next few years, realistically. As far as the management, getting leaked, I don't know how they're shocked this got leaked. Like, if you're going to give other clubs ammo like that, they're going to take it in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
It's rugby league. It's a dirty game when it comes to this side of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's the reality of it. And to be honest with you, despite management saying, I don't know if they'd be that upset about it being spoken about this much.
Yeah,
I think it's just good attention on
Dylan Brown.
You want to keep Dill Brown on the front page constantly. So, and if I'm Dill Brown, mate, and as you said, if Parramatta were in grand finals and everything like that, I think since making that grand final, they've gone 11th, 10th and 14th.
New coach, clean out, all that stuff.
Gutho's just left, for God's sake. I want my manager out there having a look around, and if I'm Dill as well, the Wallabies obviously have been thrown up there, but other clubs
The Wallabies can't get two of our hottest blokes. That's unfair. What's going on with that? Trying to take our hot blokes. When in doubt, go hot. Tom and Eddie always said that.
Yeah, you have always said that.
Well, Tom and Eddie always said. I said it after that.
Yes, we've all always said it, with good reason. But yeah, I found that one particularly interesting that they've offered him over to the Wallabies as well. Wonder how many more agents are going to do that with other players in the next
And
year
use
or
them
two.
as almost like a
bargaining chip.
with
Use the
World
Wallabies
Cup.
as a bargaining chip, basically. Yeah.
Like if you're a manager, you'd be stupid not to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, and look, we're probably guilty of it too because we're very like pro clubs doing well and you know players playing good footy. But when you really think about a manager's job, it is his job for his player to get paid the most, but also in tandem get the player to play the best. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's to get paid the most.
Yeah.
Whereas as long as possible, get paid the most. And we're guilty of it too, where we kind of like, let this player stay here to develop better and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it is about, from a manager's perspective, I guess his client's happiness. And usually you're pretty happy when you're getting paid the most possible.
And you got, obviously, the Wallabies, they've been mentioned them. And you've also got clubs around the league. Like, we all know the Dolphins just went very hard at Ben Hunt. They missed out on him.
Well, they're reportedly going hard on him now.
Yep. You've also got, the Roosters, I'm sure they'll find a 5'8" over the next year or two. But, like, if I was managing Dylan Brown, that's the spot that I'd be looking at. Just see what they can offer, see if you can get more out of Parramatta, etc. I just think this manager's doing his job, and I think he's nailed it, to be honest with you.
Timmy, what do you reckon, mate?
Well, firstly, on like the email being leaked around, I just find it weird when I see things that are like, player being shopped around and email gets leaked and yada, yada, yada. Like, he's able already to negotiate with other clubs because of when he comes off contract, and he's a top, 2, 3, 5 at the absolute worst, 5'8" and halves player in the competition. Like, as if clubs already don't know that and aren't interested in him, and if they see a future with him at their club and they're looking for a 5'8", obviously they already know that and they're going to go after him. Like, why do they need a formal email to be like, the second best 5'8" in the NRL, he's off contract next year, just in case you didn't know that already.
So do you think maybe it is to drum up interest from the manager's perspective?
Probably, but I just always find it weird. It's as if the email's gone out that other clubs didn't know that Dylan Brown was off contract. I'm like, of course, if they have interest in him, they're not going to worry about whether he's happy or not at the Eels or this or that. Like, if they want him, they're going to make a play for him. And
it's a great point because, like, you're right. Any roster manager would know Dylan Brown's situation.
imagine the Dolphins roster manager going,
Oh shit!
They do, Brown's off contract next year. Like, shit, we should talk to him.
Interesting, because then you go, okay, could that manager have sent that out intentionally for it to get leaked, knowing that it would get leaked? Again, we don't know that for sure. I guess the argument against that could be he's basically sent the email. Like, initially, you could say, yeah, Dylan Brown is off contract, but there's been no word that he's interested in leaving. Whereas this email really confirms that at the very least they're considering the option of leaving. You could say that maybe that's the case.
I tend to agree with Timmy. Like I'm sure a manager would look at the situation and go, okay, I can look around the league and see who needs a 5'8". Surely you just make that call. Instead of send out a collective email. Geez, the email was worded weirdly too. I thought it sounded like he was trying to sell
Boys, that's a great point.
a plot of land or something.
So I was thinking...
Throw enough darts, mate. One will stick.
I was thinking more along the, it's crazy how the opposing team leaked it. But as a manager that's been in the game for quite a while, you would have known that's going to happen,
I think
surely.
he knows exactly what he's done.
Yeah,
the entire
that's a good
way.
point, boys. I didn't
and I'm
think
sure
of that.
Dill Brown probably isn't stoked it's all in the papers again. I think the manager's doing his best to sort of
Drum up interest.
help Dill and go,
Yeah.
I can't believe it got leaked. It's
Okay.
rugby league.
That's a fucking great point, Timmy and Roo. It's a great point.
They give Rue credit for my point.
I gave it to you earlier.
I don't have many, so I need it.
Is that 1 point for Face of Music for Roo?
Yeah, I think so. Sorry, Tim.
You like that meme
used
where
to
it's
it.
like when someone repeats your joke and everyone laughs at that version?
So it's in the delivery. It's in the delivery.
It's all delivery, mate.
Yeah,
all delivery. It's a great point, Timmy. It's a great point.
Thanks,
But yeah, with Dylan Brown, I guess I personally think what's happening from, like, as I said, the only reason why Dylan Brown would sign such a long contract with, the only reason the Eels would offer Dylan Brown such a long contract with all these weird player options would be because they're offering him unders to his market value. Like, why else would, put it this way, let's say, in some insane world, Dylan Brown is on 800 to 900k a year with all of those options. Why would the Eels give him that? And also, why would you ever leave that deal? It's the best deal in history. The only thing I can think of is that they got after the year after the grand final, they sat down with him, and this is when their salary cap was clearly a mess. They lost Reid Marnie, Papali'i, Kofusi, I'm sure Maranta. I'm sure I'm missing someone else as well. And I'm sure they said to Dylan Brown, listen, what we'll do is we only have this amount of money, but as a way to kind of compensate you, we will give you the security of a long-term deal with options. So what I think his manager's potentially doing is going, look, we appreciate that long-term deal, but we want to renegotiate with the Eels and get a deal that's like a normal 2 to 3 year deal where he's getting what his market value is worth, especially considering you've lost Gutho, you lost RCG, there should be money in the salary cap. What are your thoughts on those comments?
Yeah, I agree. I just also think, like, I've read a lot of social media comments this week, people messaging me and stuff about this, that they can't understand why clubs do this. But I think it's going to be in every single contract soon.
As in player options and that?
100%. I reckon the vast majority already would be. I think we're getting to a point now, and I think social media and everything's played a role, that some of these guys, the old saying is, no one's bigger than club. Some of these guys are getting bigger than the clubs as individuals, and I think you can see it in world sport as well, that I think it'll just be the way forward, realistically, that if my manager's not getting me clauses like that, like when he signed that deal, they just come off a grand final, it was looking great. As I said, they've gone 11th, 10th and 14th. They've just got a new coach in. Gutho's just left. We've got no idea what Parramatta's going to look like in the next few years. I think it would have been crazy for Dill Brown to sign an 8-year contract or whatever it was without any options. I think it's just common sense, realistically.
Yeah.
Like, the NRL changes so much and so quickly. Even the Penrith Panthers, like, if you were to sign, an 8-year deal tomorrow and then in 2 years Nath Cleary leaves, you go, fuck, what have I done?
Do you think that maybe the clubs need to go, we're not offering these long-term deals, you get a 2 to 3 year deal and stand firm on that kind of stuff? Or is it just the nature of a market that the in-demand part of that market will always dictate how the contracts kind of land?
I think it's all good and well to say stand firm if you're Melbourne and Penrith.
Yeah.
Outside of that,
how can you stand firm?
How can you stand firm? They'll just go somewhere else that someone else will give it to them.
It's kind of like the Fafita situation all those years ago with the Broncos, where he got offered a mozza, and it's like, how do you say no to that?
And Parramatta were at the time probably going, okay, we've got Mitch Moses halfway, we've got Dill Brown to 5'8", we've just come off a grand final. Everything's going to be fantastic over the next.
We're in a dynasty.
We're starting something special, as all clubs
think
and should think. Happens to very few of them in reality.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, to address the other elephant in the room, reportedly offered his services to the Wallabies. Like, he lived in Auckland till he was 15. Surely he wants to play for the All Blacks, right?
Yeah, I think the Wallabies thing is just a big, almost like the Dolphins when they came into the club, is just using them as leverage to try and get. Because, I highly doubt Dylan Brown, I'm assuming, is a very proud Kiwi.
Yeah, surely he's not
wants to be
dreaming
playing for the Wallabies.
Wearing the green and gold of the Wallabies.
Because he was in New Zealand till he was 16, and also he's the current 6 for the Kiwis.
Weird.
In regards to where he will land, I personally think the biggest threat to the Eels is the Roosters. I think that, we said this quite a while ago, it's way too quiet at the Roosters. They got their man in Reece Robson. This could be... I felt like they were going to get 2 rather than 1. This could be the next one. However, I actually think if I had to gun to head make a call, I think Dylan Brown does want to build something with Mitch Moses. I really do. So I think if I had to make a prediction of what's going to happen, he's going to sign the same length of deal as what Mitchell Moses is player option. So Mitchell Moses' player option I think kicks in 27 for 28. So I reckon if he does re-sign with the Eels, he'll only sign 26, 27 and see what's happening with Mitchell Moses potentially after that. Where do you think Dylan Brown will end up?
I think the Roosters as well. I think where Sam Walker makes the most sense. I think as well for Dill Brown this
So
year.
you think he will end up with the Roosters rather than the Eels? I think he'll re-sign with the Eels, but I think the Roosters are the biggest threat.
I think he'll probably end up with the Roosters.
Mitch Moses' first player option is for 2027.
Is for 27?
Yeah.
So 26?
He's locked into 26?
Oh my.
So that means he can negotiate next year.
Yeah, things could be turned upside down very quickly.
November 1. He can negotiate November 1.
Oh my God.
Not to mention that 1 year you've got a rookie coach coming in without Gutho. A lot changes there.
And if you're Riles, you're going, who put these contracts together? Ouch. I did not know that. I thought he at least got 2 years in it. Wow. That is, wow. Okay, in regards to where he's going to end up.
I think there's a very good chance he ends up at the Roosters. I think as well for Dill Brown, we all saw it this year when he didn't have that dominant 7 next to him. There was concerns. There's no doubt about that.
And he's not a 7 as well.
He's not a 7,
Yeah,
and there's
he's a
nothing wrong
6.
with that. You're a premium 6. You sign him as a 6, you use him as a 6.
I actually reckon he'd be a good fullback. Just saying. Anyway.
Anyway, I think Roosters next to Sam Walker. That's another argument for another day. I think next to Sam Walker, I think it'd be a really good landing spot. The Roosters got to have some coin there to spend, and I think Dill Brown would be. I just think Dill Brown, when I think about him in a Roosters jersey, I think it just kind of fits. I think the Warriors would be up there too. They need a ball player at the moment.
Timmy?
I don't know where he lands. I'm looking at clubs where he could fit, and there's a lot in the NRL who need a 5'8". The Warriors would have to be a shout. You know, the Kiwi ties for starters. I think back in 2019, or it might have been, they offered him a huge long-term contract worth a fair bit.
Yeah, true.
Turned that down, but, you know, with SJ gone, I know if this combination of like Tamari Martin and Luke Metcalf doesn't work out, and it may not, who knows, but there's certainly not a star in the halves there as it stands. So the Warriors would make complete sense.
Do you think that they, I guess, in regards to fit as to what they need, it's probably not what they need right now? They've got enough sixes, they need more of a 7?
Yeah, well, I think it goes back to that argument. If we're looking at potentially moving to the Warriors down the track, Luke Metcalf has put his hand up saying he's interested and keen in trying to make that 7 jersey his own. We know Tamari Martin's sort of similar. So if either of those two can become a long-term 7, well, Dill Brown can slot in as the 6. As it stands, I'm like, we've sort of had this conversation before, I sort of see them three, particularly Metcalf and Dill Brown, as out-and-out 6s. Tamari Martin potentially can be a 7 long-term, but I don't know if it'd fit. But he's from Auckland, Warriors, makes sense.
And also, sometimes if you get a young gun like this on the market, you just take him. Like, if you can get him, you just take him and almost make it work after.
And you add in, like, they lose Adam Fanua-Blake, they now lose Tohu Harris. SJ, so there's got to be money there
just
somewhere
quietly.
as well.
SJ, bro, so many side missions. That guy, every time I check social media, he's in another country. What's going on with that? I mean, the Warriors didn't treat me like that. Bloody kicked me out of the country.
Yeah, he couldn't handle Chris Gale's part-time off-spin the other day, though. I saw him in a charity cricket game. So not all peaches and cream for SJ in retirement.
What a gig. SJ, he's going to be such a great presenter and a media personality, but to get to travel the world as essentially the face of the Warriors, and he deserves it because he is that. Great gig. What do you reckon, mate? Where do you reckon Dill Brown? Do you think that, is it more a case of the managers doing this to get a proper deal of market value from the Eels, or do you think there's genuine no, actually we need to test where we can go?
Look, firstly, I never understand these clubs that agree to these big, lengthy player options. Just fraught with danger, isn't it? What sort of a club would do that? No, I think the manager is doing his best to get as much cash as he can for his client. I think, when you've got a deal like this in place, he's allowed to, each year, if he wants to, go out and test what he's worth. And, it's handy for him because he's got that kind of safety net. He's always going to have a good deal to fall back on at the Eels. But that's the danger of him, I suppose, which is a bit distracting, particularly how many of these options has he got? 6 more to go? Every
I think
year?
it's one every year, every 2 years.
There's 2 blocks.
Yep.
Yeah.
See, if I was the Eels, sorry to cut you off, but if I was the Eels, I would already be negotiating to change this contract.
Yeah.
I already would have been trying to say, here's a 2-year deal worth, I don't know, 800K to a 900K value, but I haven't heard any whispers of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's within his right to say no. You agreed to this, so
if I'm Jill, I'm saying no.
Yeah.
I'm holding the cards.
Yep.
As in, but what if they're offering you market value, and he actually wants to stay? If you know what I mean?
Maybe it's an indication.
Yeah, potentially. But maybe the flip side of that is maybe the Eels are almost trying to call his bluff and go, no, you're not going to go anywhere. Because from the Eels' perspective, they're probably looking at it we want to pay Dill as little as possible and keep him here for as long as possible.
And I mean, I do agree with you. I think if Parramatta do well this year and him and Mitch are flying, I think he does stay. Whether that happens or not, we'll have to wait and see. I find them one of the hardest teams to place where they're going to finish this season. But I reckon, if I'm Dill, I'd probably say no to it. I want to explore my options.
What about the argument, and I know we haven't just brought up the Roosters, but what about the argument of the Roosters is technically they're kind of in a rebuild themselves, and it's not such a sure thing that they're a premiership threat right now. I get it. There's players injured, guys. I'm not suggesting that them at full strength can't be a solid side, but they're nowhere near as strong on paper as they were in past years right now.
And I agree with you. And in 2025, they're not, which history tells me in 2026 they could be a juggernaut.
Yep. And so that's where I'm a bit worried for the Eels, is this could all be a part of the plan with the fact that the Roosters have gone this long and so quiet in the market would suggest to me that they're not even... Look, don't get me wrong. They're absolutely worried about this year. There's never been a Roosters side that's come out not having a dig and not played their hearts out. But I reckon sometimes you've got to be honest with yourself and say, what are we really aiming here for? I think the Roosters are aiming for a 26-27 premiership.
And I don't think they've gone into this season thinking that. But I think because of the injuries to Walker and Brandon Smith, I think it's kind of been forced on them.
Yeah.
To some extent.
Because like if Brandon Smith and Walker are fully fit, I have them in the top 8.
So do I, yeah.
And so anyone can win in the top 8. Like, I know, the numbers would suggest you got to make the top 4, but like, you still can be competitive in the top 8. And if the Roosters with this current roster were to get to a prelim or a grand final, I would say satisfactory year, tick. Any other Dolphins have come out, not have come out, but there are reports Dolphins have gone pretty hard. I tell you what, Katoa, Dylan Brown, halves pairing, that gets me going.
Yeah, 100%. It'd be unreal to see. Roosters and Warriors, I can't really look past those two. I'd have them as the 2 red-hot favourites, but geez, it would be great. I really want Isaiah to land someone next to him. Yeah,
yep. What do you reckon, Timmy?
I think Dolphins would be a great fit. Yeah. I said him and Isaiah Katoa moving forward, they complement each other perfectly.
Oh, talk about defence. Like I know initially, like at the moment, Katoa's reads sometimes aren't the best. He's 20 years old. Like relax, he's going to get good at it. Physically though, they're probably 2 of the least halves you want to run at when it comes to their physical presence, especially when they mature into their 26, 27 years old.
And it's an ongoing issue with the Dolphins. And you even look at them this year. Just they're such easy spots for opposition. The Dolphins halves, Isaiah Katoa has struggled because he's younger defensively. He'll improve big time and he'll be fine moving forward, I'm sure. But him, whether it's Cody Nikorima, Jake Averillo, whoever ends up at 5'8", such easy ones. So if they could get a solid defensive body there, and then as you said, Isaiah Katoa, he develops into his body a bit more, it'll shore them up a lot because it's a big weak point for them this season.
Well, with Dylan Brown, and I've seen some comments going, what's he done to deserve this kind of hype or big contract? So I'm kind of like, I understand he's had a quiet year, but we're talking about a guy that's been to a grand final, the current 6 for the Kiwis, also probably the best defensive 6 in the competition.
He's my best defensive 6
I think by a mile, right?
Yep.
Is there anyone close? Like Cleary's good, but Cleary has his defensive flaws at times. Is anyone near him?
Maybe didn't, but I still would put probably Dylan Brown just above him defensively.
Definitely.
I remember there was a year where he was like out and out statistically in everything the best defensive 6 in the competition.
Munster is low key exceptional defensively. Very rarely anything goes through him.
Yeah.
But if not number 1, comfortably top 3 kind of thing.
Yeah, surely. I would still have him. He would be my number 1 defensive 6. I agree with you though, Timmy. At the worst, top three. And I think we always get caught up in the attacking stats of players. Like if you go out and get the best defensive 6 in the competition, like put it this way, flip it on the reverse. If someone went out and bought the best attacking 6 in the competition, we'd all be talking about what a great deal. And I just feel like sometimes we don't actually value defence as much as we probably should.
100%. Yeah.
Whenever we go out and say, for example, he had 30 try assists, 15 tries, 40 line break assists. You go, okay, his defence is not great, but look how good his attack is. But we very rarely go, his defence is the best in the competition, but his attack not. And the thing with Dylan Brown is he has had seasons where his attack, with Dylan Brown, he just needs a really good outside edge back row with him, and he can make magic happen. It's just a matter of getting that edge back row with him.
How old is Dylan Brown? What was he?
24.
24, is he?
Yeah.
Wow.
So young, bro.
Got so much in front of him as well.
Relatively injury-free, like maybe a couple of niggles.
Hardly had any.
I don't think he's been quite robust in regards to games
played. Last 4 years been 24, 17. 17 was when he had an off-field suspension. 28, 21. It's a lot of games.
Yeah, very robust. So, man, me personally, I think at the very least he extends until Mitchell Moses' option. So maybe even he agrees to that 1 year extension, and then we see what happens there.
How are these numbers? 24 games this year, 5 tries and 18 try assists. 2023 in 17 games, 3 tries, 16 try assists. That was a down year for him. The year before, 2022, played 28 games, had 11 tries, 17 try assists. The numbers are good.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely not bad in attack, that's for
Yeah,
sure. We
yeah.
know his defence is good.
It'll be interesting to see, like, Mitch Moses has a very similar deal as we've spoken about, like where he lands, because, you know, like I look at the Roosters, they got all this money. I don't think Mitch Moses will be on their radar because I think they need a 7, realistically.
Well, I think that, look, if you're going to go down the Sam Walker route, you go down the Sam Walker route. Don't bring in
100%,
another
yes.
bloke that takes, you know, the
Yeah.
keys away from Sam
So I
Walker.
think right now, Dill Brown's heaps more valuable to the Roosters than what Mitch Moses is.
Well, exactly. I hate to say it, but honestly, if you were to go into a lab and say, please create me the perfect 6 that suits Sam Walker, it's literally Dylan Brown.
Yeah.
Big body, essentially like Brad Fittler-esque, not the, you know, accolades and that, guys, I'm not saying that, but a big ball running 6 that is basically, look at the position he plays with Mitchell Moses. He basically just, whatever Mitch does, he sits on the back of it, and then as soon as he needs to take the ball and basically have 25 runs a game, he'll do that. I think the only other 6 that would suit Sam Walker as much as Dylan Brown is Dearden, and he's not going anywhere. Outside of, is there anyone else that would suit Sam Walker as much as Dylan Brown?
I think he's a good fit.
He's like, he fits him.
Yeah.
But look, I personally think he stays as long as Mitchell Moses does. If Mitch Moses extends, I think there's a chance he extends as well. I think he really does have a strong relationship with Mitchell Moses. I don't know that for sure. Just the interviews I've heard him talk about him and that, I reckon it might keep him there.
Yeah, fair. Jeez, it'll be chaos if Mitch leaves.
Well, if I wanted to suit my own narrative or whatever, my guess was that Roosters would get 2 big signings in the next 12 months, 6 to 12 months. So that Dylan Brown would suit that. But I don't know.
Just to revisit the Dolphins, imagine that spine if he ends up going up there. Marshall King, Katoa, Brown, Hammer.
Oof.
Not bad.
Not bad
And
at
they would
all.
have been a catch. Like they had a good crack at Hunt as well. So
Yep.
I'm sure they'll have a good crack at trying to
That's
get
another
someone
thing
like him.
with the Dolphins that we don't speak about that much. Is like they're going into seasons with spare money in their cap essentially since they started.
Yeah.
Spare money. They've got a heap of money up
Just
there.
sitting there.
Yeah, just sitting there.
Far out.
Because that's the other thing with Parramatta. Like, if you're... Like, if I'm Dill Brown, I've just experienced life without Mitch Moses. It wasn't great.
Yeah.
If Mitch was to leave, Gutho's gone too. Like, it's a lot of weight that's going to fall on his shoulders.
Well, if Mitch was to leave, like that club takes like a 5-year backward step. Like they're almost
In that window where he wasn't playing last year, they went from looking like a good side to have they trained together. It was like he was so important to that side.
Yeah, wow. All right, gun to head, boys. I personally think he extends at least until Moses' option is up. And then if Mitch Moses re-signs, I can see him re-signing. What do you reckon happens? I think Roosters is the biggest threat.
Yeah, Roosters 5'8" with Sammy Walker.
So 2026, he's rolling out in the Roosters jersey, you reckon?
Yeah.
Obviously just an opinion, guys, but yeah, all right.
I'll go Eels, followed by, if that falls through, the Warriors.
Was.
Yeah.
I think the Roosters is the biggest threat. I wouldn't be surprised to see him be there as soon as next year as well, to be
So
honest with
26, you reckon, Dill Brown's in the
you.
Roosters
Yeah,
jersey?
I wouldn't be surprised to see it. But I reckon there'll be a lot of noise and a lot of effort made by the Dolphins, but I reckon there was a good point well made about, like, you can just see him in a Roosters jersey. Like, kind of fits their vibe, I reckon.
And it just, you know, I know it shouldn't matter, and I know there's like salary cap is supposed to stop it, but as a young man to be mentored by guys like Boris, by guys like Politis, I mean, and that's just two of their board. Their board is like, you can't beat it. And some of the, like, I've still got life lessons that I learned, and this is not financially. I was not a superstar at the Broncos. I was a fucking nuffy doing zero, and even the lessons that I learned from the thoroughbreds there, I still remember them. And so it's not even about the monetary value of anything that they do for you. It's about the life lessons that they can impart on you because they're so successful. Matty, gun to head, where is Dylan Brown in 2026?
I feel like he'll be at the Roosters next year. It just makes the most sense to me. I just think that the way that the Roosters are, you know, they just signed Robson. They've got plenty of space in the cap. And I just feel like the Eels, they've been pretty much digging up with their salary cap since the grand final. Like, it's been a shambles. I just think it makes sense to me. I don't want it to happen. I definitely want him to stay at the Eels. But I think he'll be at the Roosters next year.
And I've read a few times, I don't know if it's rumoured or true, that he has to make a decision by round 10 each year. Fuck, poor old Jason Rolls. Imagine that in the first 2.5 months of starting the season.
It's honestly like your two biggest players within this year and next year could be gone. Like, it's Oh, man. Honestly, being a coach, I don't know, like, seriously, why you do it.
I guess that's the shit you deal with being a first-time NRL coach, isn't it? You're not walking into a club coming top 4 and a premiership thread. And, I mean, if you do, good luck to you, but you need to earn your stripes somewhere, and it's a club who are desperate for a coach. Not to say Rise hasn't done his time, because he has, and he's, sounds like on all reports absolutely ready to be an NRL coach, but you've got to start somewhere, and it's generally from the bottom.
So he's got to make a decision by round 10. They've got to buy in round 8. That could be the longest 2 weeks of all time.
Man, the amount of newspapers are going to be getting smashed on that. It'd be unbelievable. As always, guys, just an opinion, but I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. What do you reckon on YouTube, obviously, and also Spotify? Make sure to subscribe. What do you reckon about the Dylan Brown situation? Obviously, guys, please keep it civil. This is just an opinion. Roo is not the one signing him from the... He's not currently...
For the record, I want him to stay at Parramatta. I want him and Mitch to stay together.
But you also have to consider Roo is a massive Roosters fan as well, so it might be...
I mean, his name is Rooster.
Yeah. So
everyone thinks we call him Roo because of Guru. It's actually Roosters.
far from it. Yeah.
Alrighty. And also, guys, don't forget, watch 9PL on KO this... not this Saturday, but next Saturday? This Saturday. Yeah. Saturday, Sunday? Yeah. Pretty sure. And some of the legends rolling out. I mean, yeah, as I said, it's the who's who of ex-NRL players. It's a Nines tournament. It's exciting. It's all on KO, baby. Alrighty, next segment. Ronaldo Mulitalo. Mulitalo's management has reportedly offered his services to Broncos for 2026 onwards. It's believed the Broncos are not actively showing interest, but might consider it if Cobbo leaves. Mulitalo then went to Instagram and posted a story with sharks-coloured hearts and wrote, "Source, trust me, bro." I didn't see that. I wish I had. I would have posted on my on Bloke in a Bar. I love this from Mulitalo. There's only one club that Mulitalo should play with for the rest of his life, and it's the Sharks. He's the heart and soul of that side. He's pretty much guaranteed to break their try-scoring record. At the moment, I think he's still only 25 or something like that. Still relatively young. I understand he's in a tough spot because he's such a bloody good winger that he probably looks around the market. He goes, "Look, I'm a Kiwis winger. I did get selected for Origin. It didn't work out because New South Wales, oh, no, please don't select him." Anyway, we'll get into that.
So true, though.
So he's probably looking around going, I think it's time to be paid. And then you look at the Sharks and you look at that back line. We always talk about how bloody good that backline is. They've managed to retain quite a lot. And so I understand why Mulitalo would want to get paid. I think he deserves to be paid, within reason, obviously. But even as a Broncos fan, as a Broncos diehard, I think Mulitalo at the Sharks is the right thing for everyone. He's the kind of guy that you genuinely, as a Sharks fan, you tell your kids about, in 20 years or whatever. We had, this gun winger is Mulitalo. And so I think that I would love to see him at the Sharks. Don't get me wrong. I love the fact that there's Broncos interest or whatever. However, I would rather see him at the Sharkies. What do you reckon, Roo?
Only 3 Sharkies have scored more tries. Rogers, Peachy and Eddinghausen.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. He's already in the top 4.
And he's 20...
So he's 25 and he's going to be 25 until November. So he's just turned 25.
And so he's... if he stays at the Sharks, he's basically guaranteed to break their records.
Yeah, he'll go, yeah. And, mate... Katoa's in 6th.
Far out.
Both of them are in the top 6 already. Crazy.
Wow.
Mulitalo for me, I hope he stays at the Sharkies. I think, as you said, mate, he's very heart and soul of that side. But, we spoke about this last week. The Sharkies can't keep everyone. And I've said on my podcast for a while, Mulitalo is probably the one I'm most concerned about because
he's worth so much, do you think?
Well, he's worth so much, but you've also got Stone Street, who I think is first grade ready. Yesterday, I think he's ready to go. Whereas Cam McInnes, if they lose him, who are they going to replace him with? I don't know if they can. Britt Nikora was the same. I didn't know who they would replace him with realistically. I look at Mulitalo and I do think that Stone Street's going to be a very good player.
So do you think with Mulitalo, let's say he's worth, we'll just throw a number out, 600K. Although he is better than Stone Street, Stone Street's probably on 250K. What you get out of Stone Street is probably the value that you get for it.
If Mulitalo wasn't the sort of person he is and wasn't the sort of character he is, I think I would make a tough decision. If he was just a winger and that was it to the club, I think I'd make a tough decision and go, I think I can get enough out of Stone Street to let Mulitalo go. But
if he's demanding too much.
Yeah, if he's demanding too much. But well, even just to pay him probably what he's worth. When I look at the rest of that squad and how many good players they've got, I don't know how they're keeping all these guys. But Mulitalo, he just brings something else. He just brings energy to this club. He's loved by the fans. I've had a little bit to do with him here and there. I've met him at like your photo shoots. Like, he's just an absolute legend. He's genuinely passionate about the Cronulla Sharks. I think you can see that over the last few days on his Instagram and whatnot. But yeah, like it's rugby league. Sometimes you have to make hard decisions that aren't fair.
I think I agree with you, and I think you're alluding to this. I think he's more than just a winger to that club.
100% he is, yes.
So that's
what, if he was just a winger, I would probably go, okay, like for like, I can get enough out of Stone Street.
Yeah.
You got to balance the salary cap somewhere, but he does mean so much more to them than just that, which makes it so hard.
Even just being in squads, like, man, I swear the Broncos kept me around for an extra year just because bringing good attitude. Just talking shit, honestly. They would just invite me into the bloody review sessions to talk shit and then kick me out. We've got a game this weekend, Timmy. Get out of here. But with Mulitalo, all jokes aside, like, the value of the off-field energy in a locker room is almost immeasurable. It's almost immeasurable. So that's another part of this that you'd have to consider. Timmy, what do you reckon, mate? What's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, to the same probably point as Dylan Brown, a star player, off contract. Of course, he's going to be shopped around and for value. And he might be sitting there going, no, I want to be a one-club player and stay at the Sharks the rest of my career. But you're still going to say, all right, well, shop me around, find out, because regardless of what the Sharks want to offer him, someone might come in with double. And then you go, all right, well, for my family, for my future, I have to reconsider things. So absolutely, he'd be shopped around and people be having a look. Yeah, I think just probably to play devil's advocate as Guru sort of did there, and he summed it up quite well, so I don't add too much, but, they're relatively...
Still his opinion, bro.
Yeah.
Still,
but
he stole yours.
You know what, I will.
I'll lend one back to you.
No, but just like, in a perfect world, he stays with the Sharks and all that, but you've got to cut players somewhere, and unfortunately, ability can obviously work against you because of price. And if they sit there and he might be worth 800,000-900,000 to another club, but the Sharks might go, mate, for the balance of our roster, we can only give you 600. All of a sudden, there you're looking at $200,000 to $300,000 discount for maybe a 3-4 year contract. It's a lot of money. You can be looking at $1 million as a 24-year-old going off contract.
And 3 months ago, when I was looking at the list of 8 Cronulla players that are off contract, I thought Mulitalo would be the first one they sign. They've all re-signed over the last few weeks. I think it's only him and Hazelton at the moment that are off.
I think so.
Like, I'm surprised he is the last one, which does have me concerned.
And if the Mulitalo, if it's about value, let's say it is about value. If I was his manager, I would say, listen, man, just sign a 1 or 2 year deal because there's a window here.
100%.
And it would be, imagine the Sharkies in 2 years win a premiership, and Mulitalo was like such a big part of this rebuild. Sorry, Timmy, before cutting.
Oh yeah, no, I just say like just options, and Sammy Stone Street's the obvious one, but more fullbacks. But you throw in like Liam Eisen, Cade Dykes. There's more fullback options or even halves, but Hiroti is a backup. Talakai, if he needs to shift out to centre, we've seen how good he is. That's before they go out and sign someone else, or if there's any other juniors coming through that are options in the back line. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Mulitalo, but the Sharks might just go, we love you, mate, you're a huge part of this club, but we've got Sam Stone Street on 300 or 350 and half the value.
I was about to say, he's off contract as well, which is interesting. So they're both off contract this year, and Will Kennedy's off contract as well.
So there you go. They like market value for Mulitalo, I don't know, 750 or something, thereabouts. Kiwi winger, Sam Stone Street, he's probably re-signing for 350.
Yeah, max.
Max. So like you can be saving potentially $400,000 to $500,000 on a player who Sam Stone Street might not be as good as Ronaldo Mulitalo, but he's not less than half him as a player, put it that way.
I think Stone Street's got a younger brother that's signed with Melbourne too. Might be a little interesting spot to watch. But, mate, I hope you're spot on, and I reckon it's the most likely thing. Mulitalo signs for unders for the next 2 years to be here for this window, which he has been an integral part of building. And, mate, I just think, not that I'm here to give advice to the guy, but I would imagine in 2 years' time, playing in that squad, who I think are going to do well, his value is just going to go up and up and up over the next few years.
So he's 25 essentially this year, 26. He'll be basically going into the peak of his career. His next if he signed for 2 years, even if he's just this year and next year, even if you said, mate, just sign, you're already here for 25, just sign a 1 year extension. If the Sharks are willing to do that, he'll be basically 26. So he's walking into prime time. Yeah. And then he can get his 3 or 4 year deal, which will put him up to 30 years old. So
if all goes to plan, he's a 26-year-old premiership winner.
Yeah.
Going to the open market.
Then you're sitting there going, mate, your contract will actually be bigger, and also you've won a premiership potentially. I would hate to see him leave now and then something special happens there, even if it's just a grand final. Like, I know people, like to think, unless you win it, it's nothing. But, like, just to experience a grand final, that's a special thing as a rugby.
Special,
it's like an NRL player.
final. Of course you want to win it, but for a player, it's one thing to say you never won, you have a 10-year career or more, whatever it might be, and say I never won a comp, but to not be in a grand final is something else. As you said, just to experience grand final, can be a part of that. Like, there's a lot to that as well.
Yeah, as I said, I literally just held pads for a squad that made the grand final, and I still remember that fondly. So imagine actually playing for
They
one.
couldn't have done it without you, mate. Good pad
That's
holder.
what I always say.
Yeah.
Best in the business.
Yep.
That's why, we actually got told where it's over for the season, we can go and party. We got a call, said, mate, we need you to come in and hold pads, literally. That's what they said. So
Yeah.
we came in, we hold pads.
Pad up.
But you don't call a bloke in that doesn't know how to hold pads. The Brisbane Broncos, infinite resources. They called me. They could have called anyone in the world. They called me.
Funny, Broncos got the same call 60 minutes into the grand final, mate. Season's over, go party.
All the Raiders doing. They've been on holidays for 6-7 weeks.
Yeah, we're in building period though. Transition.
6 again.
Just let it go. Jeez.
Okay, guys. Now, if it is the case that Mulitalo was to go, landing spots.
Obviously, Brisbane's been thrown up, depending on what
How could
happens
they
with
afford him,
Selwyn
man? Like,
Yeah.
the Bronco one's like, if you're not going to, can't afford. Yeah, anyway, sorry.
I think the Warriors would be a good landing spot for him as well. Obviously,
so-
Toya's retired, SJ's retired.
Montoya has moved on, and you've
Yep.
got Darren Wateti and Zalesniak, who I'd assume is what? How old is he? He's 30? He's got to be 30.
Yeah, I think he'd be 30
29.
this year. Yeah.
Jeez, he's had a long career. He is like been around forever. So he'd have 2 years left. You'd probably want Mulitalo to become the main winger. Yeah, okay. Warriors a shout.
Yep. So, yeah, he could land on the other wing or replace DWZ. That's one rumour I've heard, but, what's true and what's not, God knows. But I think the Warriors would be a good landing spot for him.
Timmy?
Yeah, just going through the teams, I think the Doggies would probably be a shout there. They've got sort of Blake Wilson and Marcello Montoya fighting for one wing spot. Both very capable and solid, but, I think there's probably a bit of money in the cap somewhere for the Dogs, and particularly they're somewhat sort of going down this avenue of building for the future and potentially some really quality rookie halves coming through and different sorts of things. Connor Chase at fullback wouldn't take up a massive part of their sort of squad value, so maybe the Doggies could be an option.
I'll tell you what would be a fun spot. Wouldn't Shane Flanagan just absolutely love to bring Mulitalo across the fence to the Dragons?
Yeah, that's not a bad shout. And he just would love to steal him from the Sharkies.
Yeah.
And you look at their current wingers, they lost Lomax. Obviously, got Val there, who will probably play centre, you reckon?
Yeah.
Current wingers right now are...
Probably Sloan or...
So there's a wing
Yeah,
spot. Yeah,
that could work.
That could work. Wow.
Even just that whole thing about, like, if you're living in around the Shire and that you move for the Dragons, you don't have to move. Like, it's 40 minutes down the road.
Yeah,
All
true.
helps.
What do you reckon, mate?
What about as a smoky, call me crazy, potentially, the Roosters? Daniel Tupou got one more year to go.
Not a bad shout, though.
And then he's 33 now. He'll be 34 halfway through the season.
That's not a bad shout.
I don't know. Maybe they always find a way to get great players somehow, don't
The
they?
only thing is they've got so many outside backs. Like, look at this year, they've got
that's the thing. They've got a bit of a log
all the
jam
raps
there.
on. Guru obviously knows more, but Robert Toya coming through, and then there's Mark Nwanga-Nitawasi. There's Billy Smith in the centres.
They'd be all on minimum, wouldn't they?
But then Dom Young. But I'm saying, like, do they need another outside back?
Yeah, but if Daniel Tupou retires, like the Roosters are one side that they don't tend to fuck around with putting whoever on the wing. They like to have specialised wingers. And Dom Young's a specialised right winger. Mulitalo's a specialised left winger.
And I see what you're saying to me, but, like, Roosters, they have they can have literally, like, origin level halves and still go out and get a little bit better.
They're an exception. They just get what they want.
That's not a bad shout, the Roosters
I think
shout.
as well what you said then, mate, like Toya, Billy Smith in particular, been injured for a long time. The Roosters have stood by them. I think those guys would also...
Toya's had a rough run, has he?
Yeah, he's done 2 ACLs in the last 3 years. So, and the Roosters have stood by both those guys, so I reckon they would have a bit of breathing room there.
Okay. Matty?
I reckon. I think Dolphins could use him. I think Cowboys could definitely use him. I think Cowboys is probably they're they're a winger short at the moment, I think.
So they've got Tulangi, Felt's gone. They've got Simi Valamé.
Valamé, yeah.
Robert Darby, a bit of chat
yeah.
around.
Yep.
It'll probably be one wing spot. Will probably come down to Darby and Valamé this year.
I think the problem with the Cowboys is if you've got Tulangi, you're probably already spending as much as you want to spend on a winger. Whereas the Roosters, they're this very rare club that can have like 2 Origin level wingers.
I think Dolphins, like if Bostock ends up going centre, then you've got Herbie and Bostock in the centres, then you've got Jermaine and Ronnie as your wingers. That's a pretty good backline.
What about like the Dolphins' ability to sign Herbie and Flegler before they had their crazy year? It's like Herbie and it's essentially Herbie and Critter. You just know they're going to have a good season. Like if Herbie or Critter had a bad season, it would shock me.
Yep.
It would genuinely shock me.
And I mean, when you talk about them signing those two before they had good seasons, like the entire side they started with was reserve graders pretty much.
Man, it's crazy.
Like Hammer couldn't even make a starting side up in North Queensland.
So crazy. Okay. I think he stays at least for a year or two. See out this little period and then kind of test the market. Alrighty, guys. Use code DMP for 10% off. Combine that with a subscription for 20% off. BeGoodHealth.com.au. I had my good health today already in the shaker. Matter of fact, I had it yesterday. If you check my personal Instagram page, I have it every single day. It's the best.
You gave a hell of a shake there, that one yesterday.
Hell of a shake?
Yeah.
Mate.
We're mucking around.
There's no mucking around. Look, listen. When you're drinking the good day, you don't muck around.
Yep.
You're a business kind of guy. You kind of get the job done guy.
Yep.
Look, if you want to go and have your other vitamins where you've got a really limp wrist and you can't actually shake hard, do that.
Yeah.
If you want to have firm wrists, have a good day.
Yeah, it's a great point. Well articulated.
What game were you playing yesterday?
Path of Exile 2, and it's fucking fantastic. I changed my build. So I've been rolling with a certain build that basically like a scatter shot shotgun.
You haven't still been rolling with that build, have you?
No, I changed it.
Oh, good.
But I've changed to a lightning build. So a lot of the skills in the passives skill tree are based around increasing lightning effectiveness.
What's that do for you? Just move faster.
When I shoot stuff, there's a skill it shoots out lightning bolts, and then the more points I put in that tree, the lightning bolts have more damage.
Nice.
And so that's what I did yesterday.
Obviously inspired by the thunderstorms last week.
Absolutely.
In Sydney.
Absolutely.
Yeah, nice.
That's what I thought. As soon as I said that's an omen for Path of Exile 2.
Yep.
And so, yeah, it was a great day yesterday. Had a run, just enjoyed, had my good day, obviously. Sat down, Path of Exile 2, had the UFC on the right monitor. Doesn't get much better than that, boys.
Nice.
Boys, people chase Ferraris, McLarens and all that stuff. No. It's about a Sunday afternoon with no stresses on your mind, UFC and Path of Exile 2. That's what it's about.
Well played.
Thank you.
Great stuff.
Straight through to the keeper, that one. Actually, no. Top that, Cherry.
It's going so well.
Look, sometimes I get my cricket metaphors mixed up.
Yeah. Complicated game.
It is.
You're doing well.
It is.
You're improving.
Look, that joke was good areas.
Yep. Yeah, we're talking.
There we go. See, we're back.
Seamless
We're back.
segue into the
there
sale
we
tonight.
go. Yeah, sale tonight, 50% off everything on Bloke. Plus the good area shirts and singlets, they are also 50% off as well. Alrighty, segment 4. Not here for a haircut. Speaking of being all business, West Tigers CEO says no haircuts allowed.
Yep.
Shane Richardson has removed the barbershop from their HQ. We just want to make a statement. We're all about business, and that isn't the haircutting business. Hang on a sec. What if they're getting business haircuts?
Good point.
What if you
Business at
said
the front, party at the back? Mahe Finuas at the special.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's a business haircut. Has he never heard of a business haircut? If he had said we only do business haircuts, I can understand. But I don't understand we want to make a statement to who?
Yeah.
We don't want our players to have nice cut hair.
With the greatest respect to Richo, if there's one bloke who could have done with leaving a barbershop inside the place that he worked, probably him, to be honest. TBH. Yeah, interesting. He's quite literally taken away their fringe benefits at the club. Honestly, the Tigers boys should be going to Cutry & Co. and Roselle anyway. They do a great service down there, so they can just go down the road.
Shout out.
But
so they'll never be able to say that haircut's all business.
No.
Damn.
Yeah.
That sucks.
It's an interesting one. What do you think? Does it make a statement? Does it go, all right, getting rid of some of the bells and whistles and the non-important stuff, or is it just another? Are we really talking about this for the Tigers? Like, does it fall into that category?
I don't know whether, like, does Shane Richardson own a share in the newspapers? Because I feel like he's just trying to sell newspapers, and he's bloody good at it. I'll give him that. Because it's like, what? I don't understand why this needs to be made public.
Did anyone know there was a hairdresser in
No,
there?
didn't know it.
I feel like I remember it being announced and like, the Centre of Excellence, it's got everything, it's got a bar. I probably haven't thought about it since then, since it was kind of
No,
announced.
they made a huge deal out of it. It's never left my mind that there's the hairdresser in the $70 million complex there. So
Yeah.
I tell you what, as a player, if I could roll in and get Darius used to cut my hair.
Yeah.
And I used to cut his. Not good haircuts, I can tell you. Go back and look at me noggin.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Is the hairdresser solely for people within the West Tigers? Like, can you show up there and get a haircut?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was for people within the organiser, and that's where when I was reading a bit about it over the weekend, Richo was kind of saying like it's not a cheap exercise to like have it staffed and ready to go. Particularly if that's the case, only players and people that work there can use it.
Who would have thought putting a hairdresser in for only people that work there was ever going to make money?
Yeah.
Very strange that.
Yeah.
How many people would be there each day? 200?
Maybe.
Probably not even that.
Yeah.
Not even that much, right?
Yeah.
Bizarre.
Like what, 10 haircuts a week, you reckon? Imagine the dude that was working there, he would have been sitting on his phone. Maybe it was the data bill. Maybe he was running up the bloody data
Yeah,
to the Wi-Fi.
With all due respect to the Tigers, too, you're not getting many Friday night games. I don't know how many.
Oh,
boys coming in with
that
haircuts.
wasn't called for.
Come on, bro.
That was
Honestly.
I thought you were mates.
Well, might take a point off after that.
The Beard brothers going against each other. The Beardless brothers. See, we stick together,
We
mate.
look
We
after
don't-
each
Who would have thought discussing a barbershop would have torn us apart when they do such good work
So
for us?
is the hair, like, we should consider popping in for a cut before it goes.
Oh, is there a date that it?
I think we've already missed a boat. They're already selling off chairs and stuff like that.
Oh,
we may have missed out.
I would have gone in and filmed that the last haircut. Shout out! Can we look into that? I tell you what, if that is still open for a date, I'm going to go in there for a haircut. Might shave my goatee. Might let it grow out and just shave it. As
Nice. The Lachie Galvin.
Oh, the Lachie Galvin.
Yeah,
And
that's how I knew that the barbershop had been shut, because I was like, what's going on here with the Galvin's new Jason Ackermanis kind of look that he's rolling with.
Ackers, the great Ackers.
Yeah. Interesting look from in there, which I don't mind. But that's when I was like, oh, I wonder what's going on with the barbershop down there.
Okay.
And not long after.
Do you reckon he was, the barbershops you go into that run the so it's mainstream music but sung by just a random person, so they don't have to pay the licensing fee?
royalty fee, yeah.
Yeah, love that. Man, we used to get hit up at the bar all the time by like licensing for music, and I'd always be like, we don't use music. We literally just have TVs on, and their argument was, well, because the TV plays music in between stuff, that's you using licensed music.
My word.
And because I kept trying to say, like, we don't play music. It's all sport. There's never music on. And they just like, nah, you got to pay your yearly fee or whatever.
Jeez.
And this is when money was tight. When I say tight, I mean minus. It literally didn't exist. Anyway, there's that. Okay, Lachie Galvin, still on the Tigers. Lachlan Galvin said he won't be renegotiating his contract until the season is finished, so it doesn't disrupt their season. How long's he signed for?
he can negotiate November 1.
Ouch.
To be honest with you, the least disruptive thing for the season would be if he negotiated and extended before it started. If we're being brutally honest, and if he's listening right now,
Lachie, if you're listening,
I'd
bro,
like him to consider that.
consider what Hammy just said. If your main priority is like as little as disruption as possible, extend for 10 years.
Absolutely, I'd have no issue with that. No issue with a 10-year extension before the first game on I think it's the 5th of March. So over to you there.
Maybe he didn't think of that.
Yeah.
So look, maybe a 10-year extension is on the horizon.
Yep. That'd be great.
I tell you what is going to be interesting is the Dylan Brown, Lachie Galvin situation. Because if you're Roosters, you're looking for a 6 most likely. And don't get me wrong, Sandon Smith, he's a bloody good player. So maybe he does end up being a 6. You know, I actually think in the modern game he might turn out to be a bloody good 14. But he could end up being a 6. So I don't want to disrespect Sandon Smith and just say that, it's a done deal, like they're definitely looking for a 6. But if they are on the market for a 6, you'd have to suggest they're weighing up, like those two options of Lachie Galvin, Dylan Brown, at the very least to approach them. What do you reckon is the situation with Lachie Galvin? Because wasn't there already links to the Roosters, like real low whispers last time?
A while ago.
Yeah.
Christ, I hope he stays. I just, like they've done so well with him. They've given him an early opportunity despite everything going on there. He played so well last year. I'm not sure what's going to happen in year 2 and whatnot. I personally think he'll be okay. It'll just be such a kick in the dick if they lose him now.
With the Lachie Galvin situation as well, like because he's there from essentially the start. I know he was at the Eels initially, blah, blah, blah. But essentially from the start, like genuinely there is an opportunity for him to do something that very, very few players do. Like a lot of players, I mean, you even look at it now, like how many players truly went to a club from a very young age that was at the bottom of the table, was an absolute superstar and took them to a grand final victory. Like it very rarely does happen. Yeah, it's a huge opportunity. However, when you're a guy like Lachie Galvin, like I think if you go back and actually look at his stats and the way he played, the fact that he played like that in a side that was nowhere near like the standard that it needed to be in the top 8 is almost unbelievable. Like some of the best players in the competition put in that 6 role wouldn't have had the same stats that Lachie Galvin had. Well, like I've seen players far more experienced go to other clubs and struggle more than a rookie of Lachie Galvin. Now, maybe it was just his first year. He hasn't got the runs on the board than some of the other players. But I don't think it gets enough appreciation that this rookie went into a team that won the spoon for the 3rd year in a row, whatever. Was it 3rd?
Yes, it was. Thank you.
Just checking. Just need to be sure. And play as well as he did.
Matt checking.
Thoughts, Ruth?
Yeah, man, I completely agree. As I said last year, like I would have had him as my Dally M5 of the year, all things considered. Isn't it just like with Jerome Luai arriving, all the excitement around the club? Like I would have just thought, just re-sign for a year, just re-sign for a year. But once again, you look around the rugby league landscape, and the Roosters are going to need a 5'8". God, it would be appealing. Like it wasn't that long ago. He was trying to get out and whatnot, or however that played out. So once again, I do get it from Galvin's point of view that you want to wait to the end of the season and see what the landscape's going to be like.
And it is a huge Tyson gamble to stay at the club that's struggling at the moment.
Enormous, yeah.
Another former grade of the club.
Yeah. Have you heard his debut story?
No?
Oh, mate. His parents got kicked out of the bloody Leagues Club after the...
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just like... It's all... And he had... I think he didn't have a Barry Crocker or something like...
Yeah, it was like the windiest day of the year, and he had a shocking first half, and then they got pumped by 40.
Oh, mate. It's a great story. It's obviously on YouTube. Head to YouTube. And you'll hear Tyson Gamble tell one of the great debut stories. And I think he didn't get an invite. Like Tigers didn't even invite. So it was just crazy. Like go and listen to the story. Timmy, what are your thoughts on the situation, mate?
Yeah, I mean, he was so good last year that he doesn't need to rush it. And it's like, even as a young player, all right, I've had my one big year, I can get a decent offer for the future. God forbid it happened, but he could get injured this season and be a relatively bad injury. A club's still going to sign him on big money for the future because of how good he was last year.
And that's the kind of argument against the dynasty chat of like, you could create something great. It's like, well, what if I get injured and I just turn down a 5-year deal worth $5 million? Like,
and for most young players, that is such reality. But for Lachie Galvin, he was literally that good that I don't think it'll matter. In terms of like not wanting to disrupt their season by doing it, if that is genuinely the reason, that's all good and well. But by not doing it, there's just going to be 8-9 months of headlines about where's he go, what's happening.
Yeah.
Even if there's literally no discussions, it's going to be headlines.
It's almost like because he's so young, it's almost like a bit of a naive take. It's like you may want to focus on footy, but the big media machine, it just comes with
it's going to go nuts, as opposed to getting it done early and then it literally puts it all to bed and shuts up the media.
Yeah, I understand though. I think Lachie Galvin's well within his rights to want to wait and see how this goes with Jerome Luai. Like I actually think if I was his manager giving his advice, and I know people that hate the Broncos would be like, you'd never say that about the Broncos. I would say about the Broncos. He would be silly. Like for example, okay, here's one with Payne Haas. If we aren't close to winning a premiership, I think Payne Haas deserves to win a premiership. Like I would, if he was like, I want to win a premiership, I would get it. So I'm not just talking about with the Tigers. If I was to give him advice, as a manager, I would say, mate, re-signing now, you don't know what's going to happen
Yeah.
with Jerome Luai. You really don't. He could be the next coming, and it could be the best thing ever. You re-sign at the end of the year, but if you re-sign now, you take away the one positive that you do have up your sleeve right now, which is time. And I agree with you as well. Like, even if Lachie was to do an ACL, there are clubs out there that would sign him on a 3 or 4 year deal worth $800K a year tomorrow, in my opinion.
That's it. And like, not Appy, Luai aside and how that plays out, Hammy, just the Tigers, like, why would you sign long term when you have no idea what they're going to look like in 6 or 12 months or 24 months' time? So, as you said, if I was like a Galvin, I'd probably be waiting as well, personally.
Yeah.
Sorry, bro.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Good to talk about it. No, I think I took a lot of heart when I heard him on your podcast last year, and how he kind of, there's obviously Joey Johns came out and said, look, yes, you could go probably anywhere you want. A team that's already really good, jump in there and have some great success. But he really took to heart the legacy chat. Like, think if you can take a team that's right down the bottom, be the guy that kind of helps take them to the top, what that does for your long term and your legacy, come the end of your career. And that kind of really struck a chord with him. So I took a lot of heart from that. I am remaining optimistic that this year, obviously the Tigers, I honestly can't see how we don't improve a little bit this year, just given who we've brought in and all that sort of stuff as well. Hopefully if there's a little bit of improvement there, Luai comes in, has a similar effect to Crichton did at the Dogs, and standards go up. A lot of players in the team are getting better. Hopefully that feeling of improving, getting towards something, maybe come the end of the year, Galvin goes, you know what, well, we're tracking in the right direction here. I'm gelling well with Luai. I'm still passionate about that long-term legacy piece. I'll stick around. So, I get it as well. There's going to be some really good offers that come his way, so I get the fact that he's testing it. But, I would love as a Tigers fan for him to commit longer earlier, but I can see why he doesn't want to do that straight away as well.
He's so young too. Like, even if you just mate, just sign a year extension or whatever, it would have to go disastrously wrong for him not to have a bunch of offers anyway in the future. So, the argument against, you never know what the future will bring, geez, it would have to go pear-shaped for him not to always kind of have offers, at least in the first 3 or 4 years of his career. Even if, let's say he spends the next 2 years not playing good footy, halves are so hard to come by that a lot of clubs would trust their own systems to get the best out of Lachie Galvin, especially with the body of work we've already seen him kind of put together. And what I really like about Lachie Galvin is that second pre-season, came back in, and I think he broke his own record in the 1.2. That's a real, one thing you cannot fake, it's fitness. It's the hardest thing to have because you don't just naturally, yes, there are people that are more naturally fit than others, but when it comes to those kind of times that they're talking about, you have to work hard to do that. You can fake, you can use your natural talent to get by in touch footy games or even league games to a degree, but to be fit, you usually have to work hard, especially at this level. And that's a really good sign that Lachie Galvin's gone away and got even fitter in the next year. Because a lot of young fellas, they go away and go, big year, I'm tired, it's been so long, I'm going to have a whole big break and then I'll just get into the preseason and they'll slowly work into it. So it's a good win there.
And I think as well with Galvin, just more so to your point, I look at his plays from this year that he had, they're just all effort plays. He isn't I remember when Tim Smith burst on the scene, he was doing incredible stuff I hadn't really seen before in a skill set. Galvin is just all effort.
He's just putting himself in the game at all times. It's a little bit like Billy Slater. I always felt like his biggest weapon was his fitness, and I'm not saying that that's only Galvin's biggest weapon, but if you're as fit as a fiddle, you're giving yourself every opportunity to always be there if something happens.
Yeah, and he's I think he led the league for 5/8 in offloads.
Crazy.
By 15, it wasn't close.
To be that young and to be strong enough in contact to be able to offload like that, it's unheard of. It is unheard of. And what is crazy about Lachie Galvin? There's not much of him. There's still so much growing. Think about how strong the bloke's going to be when he hits 25 or 26 years old.
Already he's looking bigger in some of the photos.
100%. This is when he's 19.
Yep.
By the time he gets his man strength, he'll be unstoppable. So I hope he stays. I think at the very least, maybe even just a 1 year extension. I'd be very surprised if he signs a long-term deal at the Tigers, unless it's a 1.5 a year crazy deal, which I don't think they'll do that. I think that Shane is not going to, Richardson's not going to do those long-term deals, especially with young fellas. But I think at least a 1 year extension or something might work, depending on what else is out there. But we'll see. We'll see.
So he November 1, he can negotiate with other clubs.
Pretty sure, yes, for 27.
So you have still got a 2-month window post
Yeah.
the season.
Yeah.
Maybe 1 month.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Wow.
Well,
Great point, actually. Once we win the comp, I'd be expecting him to re-sign for 10 years within 3 or 4 weeks.
October 5.
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe even he walks off. He's celebrating in the middle of it.
I'll be standing there holding it as a thing for him. Do you just scribble on that? Thank you.
Okay, guys. Quick question. What is the best day of the sporting calendar? It is Origin. All agreed?
I'm going to get bullied relentlessly for this, and I'm happy to wear it, but I'm always honest with you guys. It's Supercoach Draft Day.
I thought you were going to say NRL Fantasy.
Fucking hurtful, but that's fine. Get all your mates together, down the coast, beers out, grumpy flowing in the morning, blokes in the arvo, draft your team. That's your family for the next 8 months. Love it.
Get weird. You weird.
Get
Supercoach
heaps
players.
weird. Yeah.
Like, get drunk and be like, man, that call you made 2 years ago was so fucking good on that rookie. Fucking sick cunt.
That's exactly how it goes. I don't know why you laugh.
I fucking couldn't believe it, man. There's no way I was going to buy that player, but you said, fucking, I'm doing it.
Have you been to a couple of these?
I supply the fucking beer and the coffee. Of course,
Yeah.
they'll be there.
That's fair.
He takes the piss, but it's so accurate.
It's so accurate, yes.
Timmy, mate, best sporting calendar, obviously not Origin.
Yeah, I love my horse racing, mate, as we know.
Okay.
And Derby Day, end of October, sort of late October, early November, is always one of the biggest on the calendar. 5 Group 1s. And it also just ties in with like the start of the summer of cricket. You generally get like an ODI or a T20 international from Australia there, and it also coincides with the back end of the Pacific Championship. So you'll often get, like, I think this year it might have been the semi-finals, might have been Tonga and New Zealand or something. So you just get a bit of everything, this unbelievable racing, bit of rugby league, bit of cricket, gets me up and about, daylight savings just set in. It's just a great time of year.
Alrighty, Hammy.
Last year for me, it was October 8. We had a triple header of Sheffield Shield cricket to kick off the season. 3 screens going, computer working overtime, just keeping an eye on, obviously, Slug Webster putting his case together for the Australian team, which came to fruition a little bit later. That was probably not my favourite. It's probably on the podium for me. But I think consistently every year for me, Origin's in the mix. But I do love Boxing Day for the cricket. I just think you've got no other interruptions. You've got a full day of it. There's just a good vibe around the place.
It does stop the nation.
You're at that point of the year where you don't know what day of the week it is, you know. And yeah, just 100,000 people generally, you know, at one venue and like the whole nation supporting the same team. For me, I think Boxing Day probably is the most exciting one for me.
Like the Boxing Day test this year, like, could it be any better? Like, what, not even as a hardcore cricket fan, like that's what won me over. Like, because, like, it's one thing, you know, you get Boxing Day, you get the cricket, and we might lose, and then, you know, it's still fun, but we lost. But to win the way we did, and the test, how good it was, like, that's peak.
Well, day one this year, Sam Constas opens the batting in the first session. You know, ramping, the best bowler in the world everywhere. Like, that was pretty elite on what's already a great day to just.
Roger Ramjet.
Roger Ramjet. I like it.
Matty?
I'm with Hammy. Boxing Day, undoubtedly for me. Like this year, all your mates are off. So this year, me and 2 mates went up to Newcastle and just didn't leave the house for a few days. And
What are you doing?
It's just the best. Just what?
A couple of mates went up to Newey. Were you in the wine country? What's going on?
No. He lives up there. But we were
Penny.
Didn't leave the house for a few days. What the
Well,
hell?
but that's the thing. Like, I know you're joking, but you've got 8 hours of Test cricket, then you got 2 Big Bash games back to back, and it's just fun. Like Origin, I love Origin, but it's a Wednesday night, and more often than not, it ends in tears for me. So, yeah, I love Boxing Day. I love Boxing Day.
Also had a Test match in South Africa this year as well. Just kept going. The cricket coverage was just wall to wall.
How'd your commentary go for SEN?
Good, I think. I mean, it was one and done. So the guy that I've been communicating with, he gave me a start. The day after it, I went out there. I was the stats guy for the Sydney Smash, which went down to the last ball with the great Jimmy Smith and Dougie Bollinger. The next day I went, how'd it go? Love to hear any thoughts, any availability. I'm around for the rest of the summer. I got the out of office reply. It goes, thanks for your email. I'll be back on the 20th of January. I was like, no. Anyway, unfortunately, it was sort of one and done this time around, but I had a blast.
Yep.
It was a lot of fun. And definitely keen to do more this year. It's kind of my goal to do a bit more cricket commentary, but it was awesome. Really
Well,
good.
speaking of cricket, we actually have Mike Whitney on the podcast this Wednesday.
Who
Drops
dares wins?
3 p.m. Who dares wins? Some of the great. He's a former Australian cricket player, also New South Wales. Got incredible yarns. Obviously, Who Dares Win host as well.
Yep.
Part of the Rabbitohs getting back into the competition. So for the younger fellas and Sheilas that are listening, this guy is first of all, he's an incredible cricket player, but got an incredible story, an amazing story. So make sure to tune in. That's Mike Whitney on Wednesday.
Just
We
on
caught up with him in Vegas.
Yes, he was there last year for the Bunnies.
Got some yarns. So we're talking about like Brian Lara, we're talking about Warney, we're talking about some of Lily, like some of the biggest names in cricket. Great yarns.
He played at the same club cricket joint in Sydney that my dad did as well. So there's a bit of overlap there.
Ooh, okay.
And many years ago, when I was about 5 years old, I only knew him from Who Dares Wins. I had no idea he was a cricketer or whatever. He came down to Canberra to do a sporties thing, and Dad goes, "Oh, we're going to pick up Mike Whitney from the airport. Do you want to come and just sit in the car?" And I was speechless. I was most couldn't say a word, starstruck, couldn't believe it. So I've got Mike Whitney as the first autograph in my autograph book. sitting at
No
home.
way.
I told him that last year at Vegas.
That's sick.
Yeah, he's
Great bloke.
He's a ripper.
Yeah.
He's just so positive.
So many
much
yarns.
energy. Yeah, Sydney Weekender, a great show as well.
Yeah,
over
great
the
show.
years. Yeah.
Look, obviously Origin, for me, it's just, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. I think just a good UFC card or there's like building up to an Alex Volkanovski card, or for me, Jaya Pataya, or a Cambosis, or even a Paro for me, like a Sammy Goodman card when he fights, Timmy Zoo, like all those kind of guys, especially if you they're Aussies in a fight card, a combat sport. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like some of the cards that Volkanovski was on where he fought like Max Holloway and that. Like, it doesn't get much better than that. Like, sport does not get much better than that. Then there's like huge fights, like your Crawford versus Spence that happened quite a while ago now. Your Tyson Fury versus Usyk. There's some big fights coming up soon, like Ben versus Eubank Jr. That's more of a bit of niche for casual boxing fans, but boxing fans know that fight. It's just huge fights. Bivol versus I can't believe we're getting his name, Dimitriev or something like that. Anyway, there's huge fights coming up. But yeah, a big boxing or UFC card, beautiful.
Don't want to one-up you, but my birthday last year, New South Wales Rugby League actually put the Jersey Flegg Grand Final on that day. That was a pretty good day out.
Oh, that's good. What about when you had to take the trophy all the way over to New Zealand with the...
That was a good day too. Harold Matts Trophy.
That's
Sat next to
poetry.
me.
That's poetry.
First time it's ever left New South Wales.
It was with Roo.
Yeah.
Guarded with your life. Okay.
That was actually unreal.
Alrighty, guys. What about best sporting event? Any international ones that you like when it comes to outside of what we've just spoken
You
about?
very selfishly invited me on this podcast. Super Bowl Monday used to be a great day for me.
Oh, sorry, mate.
Yeah. Used to have
Sorry,
to call
mate.
in sick. 4-day weekend. It was fantastic.
Yeah, okay. Apologies, mate.
That's right.
Timmy?
Oh, jeez. Got some options.
Fucking say 'em then.
The World Cup. I don't know. Lord's Ashes.
Yep.
Soccer World Cup final is unbelievable. I don't know. What do you got?
What I got?
Oh, yeah, UFC.
I actually, the F1 documentary.
Yeah.
It's got me really, I want to go to an F1. One of those sports. I reckon that, actually going to that event would be all time. And from now on, I want to try to make it. Hopefully I'm successful enough. I never want to miss another Soccer World Cup or Olympics. Actually go to them.
Yep.
Because I was sick, the last time the World Cup or the Olympics was on, I was like, holy shit, I've only got 20 of these left in my whole life. Then I'm dead. So it's 20. That's not much, man. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 20, dead.
Obviously you've been drinking your good day because you're going to live till you're about 120.
Well, they actually say we probably will live till about 120,
Yep.
150.
Yep.
Aging is actually considered a disease. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they reckon they might cure it.
Yeah.
Eventually they'll probably cure it.
Yep.
Would you like to live forever?
I don't know.
Not after 3 spoons.
Oh, wow.
Come on.
That's the second time he's come at you.
He has.
And
What's
you
going
gave
on?
him a point when he
What's
should have
going
got
on?
one. Holy
Unbelievable.
shit. Are you
Outrageous.
treating him mean, trying to keep him keen?
That's my play.
Oh, okay.
And you know what? It's actually working. I don't know if I want to live. You get to a point, I think, where you get too old. You know what I mean?
Well, would anything mean anything? If you can live for infinite,
Yeah.
if that even exists,
Yeah.
Infinity scares the shit out of me. Because think about it. If infinity is real, that means that anything that potentially can happen, has happening, is happening, and it will happen.
Yeah.
Do you understand? If infinity actually exists, anyway.
Yeah. All right. Well, then I don't want to live forever. Then I think.
Okay.
You scared me off.
You want to live forever?
No, another sporting event that I haven't been to myself, but it looks unreal, is like a good night at the darts.
Oh
I
yeah.
would love to do.
Yeah, didn't Eddie Hearn or something make it big over in England now? It's huge in England, isn't
Yeah,
it?
they look fantastic.
Like the intelligence to make darts entertaining, to be able to do that, that's
Yeah.
impressive.
I've been to one in Melbourne a few years ago, and it got very ugly very quickly.
Drink people just...
Yeah, I was sitting on the tables down the front, or not the front, but like in the middle. And I don't know, people are carrying on, chanting at each other, and then a huge brawl, like tables flying everywhere. I couldn't have got out of there quick enough.
Really? I thought you loved to stink.
No. You're thinking of Sammy Goodman.
Okay. Anyway, back to some rugby league. Campbell Graham, the great Campbell Graham, has returned to modified contact training and remains on track to be back in round one. Have you any of you had a chance to speak to someone in the know about what happened with that initially? No, not really.
Nothing.
We spoke about, like, for example, remember when Marnie nearly played Origin, then he went back, he got injured, didn't play Origin. Like, it would be one of the great travesties if Campbell Graham never plays Origin. He is such a bloody good player. He definitely deserves to. How that all came about, whatever. But he was this close, and now all of a sudden we have, we look at the options for centre for New South Wales, and you guys basically have depth for days. Like there's a world where Critter and also Bradman Best may not make the side next year if both Trell and Turbo are fit.
Yep.
Now maybe you might squeeze him in. I'm not sure. You put maybe Turbo on the wing. I don't know. I don't know what you do. But what I'm saying is you went from no depth to a lot of depth, and I just think that at some stage, I hope Campbell Graham puts on that sky blue jersey.
Yeah, I think it is going to be tough for him because, as you said, Bradman Best Critter, Zach Lomax has got to be in that conversation too.
True.
But if you shift
Biz is
Critter,
locked in on the wing.
Biz is locked in, but everyone else, it's brutal. If all those guys are available, I personally don't think you can leave out Latrell or Turbo. They have to be there.
Then you've got guys like Tungor, Beast.
There's a lot of guys there. So, yeah, Campbell Graham, I thought he was going to play Origin a couple of years ago. Obviously, he just missed out and that injury's happened since. But I do think he'll very quickly play himself back into Origin.
Surely. He's too consistent not for an opportunity not to open up, whether it be wing or centre, for him to not get it, in my opinion.
I agree.
Timmy?
I'm confident he will at some point, just because injuries will happen. You look at Tommy Turbo and Latrell, two people who are in his way at the moment. How much Origin have they played in the last few years? Not a lot because of injuries and all sorts of things. So the fact that he can play on the wing so easily as well, and, you can shift Tommy Turbo to the wing if you need to accommodate him. Not saying it'll happen this year or next year, it very well may, but he's only 25 and he's so reliable. We saw him play on the wing for the Kangaroos a few years ago and he killed it there. He'll play Origin at some point.
It's going to be interesting to see how it's obviously been a huge layoff. There's been complications trying to come back a little bit early and all that sort of stuff. So if he's fully fit and bounced back and fit as he was before he had the injury, sure, I think he's definitely got the style of play and he's consistent enough, as you said, to make his case. But just going to be interesting to see how he adapts back to the hustle and bustle and week in, week out kind of thing, because it's been ages out of the game.
And the best thing about it, from an injury return point of view, is it's not an ACL. He's coming back from that pec injury last year. So when they return from an ACL injury, there's always fears of how explosive they're going to be if they lost any yards of speed. But it's he's all good there. The pec, as long as it's good to go.
I think it's sternum.
Sternum. It's maybe initially contact, there might be a bit of easing back into it, but I'm sure he'll be fine. The explosiveness will be there. The sort of speed he's got, that'll be there. He'll then come back, and the Bunnies ranked third, I think, had the third worst defence in the competition last year. You now have a centre pairing of Campbell Graham and Jack Whiten, one of the best defensive centre pairings in the NRL. Such a big return for them.
Timmy, you make a really good point, because he actually did play with the injury for a whole season, and then they decided to get surgery. So yeah, he can play with it even if it kind of screws up again. Hopefully it doesn't.
I spoke to a Rabbitohs player last week, just sort of said who's going well, and he said Campbell Graham's looking better than he's ever seen him.
Nice.
I mean,
So fingers crossed.
You ever want to see how important outside backs can be? That Rabbitohs edge just fell apart without Campbell Graham. And then also you look at the value of, you almost saw a drop-off similar to when Herbie left the Broncos, coming out of your own end trouble runs. Campbell Graham and Herbie Farnworth are some of the best in the business.
Yep.
And both teams thought they could replace it. They couldn't. They missed it massively. So
Heavily discounted in Supercoach off the back of his injury, Kempy. You locking him in, or are you waiting?
So, mate, you got to pay for that kind of advice. You keep trying to get this free shit, and it's doing me head in, mate. All right,
It's worth a try. It's worth a try, right?
mate. I'd be locking him in 100%. I'll be locking him in. He'd be absolutely heaps of runs, low amount of errors, doesn't miss many tackles. Probably might score a mozza. If you look at Latrell right now and how fit he looks, like you just heard Matty, he nearly exploded over there.
There's a few of them at South. Just looking at those pictures, like Latrell looks great.
Keon looks great.
Keon looks unreal. Who's the young front rower? Mawali. If you look at a picture of him compared to last year, I think the Cast Patrol put it up the other day. He looks
Humphries?
amazing. Humphries.
Yeah, Humphrey's looking like almost like a love interest out of a Bridgerton movie.
Yep.
Like just that curly hair. I don't know what it is about that curly wavy hair, and looks like he looks like he'd look proper in one of those suits with the frills and stuff coming out. Maybe he's starring in the next Bridgerton. I don't know. Russell Crowe, reach out.
Yep.
He's got connections in Hollywood. Anyway, Campbell Graham, good to see him back. Alrighty, time for Beak's Bag. Don't forget, you leave a comment on our either Spotify. Make sure you have to be subscribed to either YouTube or Spotify. Leave a comment. We give a $50 voucher to the comment that we choose each week. It's so good seeing all the comments, guys. We read them all, and some of them are bloody good questions. So make sure to leave your comment. And if we don't pick it one week, just leave it again the next week, and eventually we will probably pick it. And we'll give you a $50 voucher. This week it is from Blair Edwards 4500. Email Matt at Bloke in a Bar to claim your prize of a $50 bloke voucher, Blair. Alrighty, loans. Why don't clubs take advantage of the loan system? It worked great for the Storm and Harry Grant a few years ago. The Titans could loan out one of their halves/fullbacks and get a solid middle for the year. Next year, maybe Foran has retired, so you bring the half back in. Yeah, I agree in regards to loans, and they probably should be utilised more, especially for like certain clubs that have unbalanced rosters where they've got a lot of depth, some in a certain position, no depth in the other position. I think that the problem that a lot of rugby league clubs run into is they don't want to give a one-up to their opposition.
Yeah.
And so the reason why the Tigers and the Storm worked, apologies, Hammy, is because the Storm were like, we know the Tigers aren't really going to go that well, respectfully. That wasn't me. That's the Storm that probably thought that. I didn't think that. And so, whereas there is no way the Storm are loaning him to Panthers or the Roosters or the Broncos. And so I think that's the biggest concern, is like getting past that kind of cultural, we're not giving you a single leg up. Even if, we trade you something and we feel like we're getting something in return, what if he plays poorly but our guy plays really well? So I think there's that tension between it.
I think not wanting to give your opposition a one-up is massive when it comes to rugby league. Like when that swap went through with the Tigers and Melbourne, I thought, okay, if the Melbourne Storm are doing it, everyone's going to do it now. I thought it was going to open Pandora's box, and it just hasn't. We just haven't seen it. Like we've said it for the last few years. Like Parramatta, the last few years, they've had so many forwards, no outside backs. I can't believe at no point they didn't look for a swap deal.
Yeah,
they've got all these forwards. We're struggling for outside backs. I think it would have been perfect. Like I think the only other one I can think off the top of the head was Canterbury and the Raiders, right, with Corey Horsburgh and them.
And that was a very much a COVID-related thing, where it was just like numbers, yeah.
Oh, I'm surprised it doesn't happen more.
And it, like for players' development, like think about a guy like, I don't know, a Blake Moser, for example, 20 years old now, probably turning 21. Let's say, and it looks like he's going to win the race, but there's four hookers at the club at the moment. And there are plenty of clubs that would say, mate, Blake Moser is our starting hooker. Like, for example, the Parramatta Eels. And yet, let's just assume that Billy Walters heading to this year was going to be the main hooker. He's going to stay there all season. You'd almost be crazy not to help develop Blake Moser by giving him some first grade, because he needs Moser is the perfect example of needing first grade right now. Like, he's a first grader. And so, you look at that loan system, but I just think, I don't know whether we're ever going to get past I don't want to, look how much better the Tigers went with Harry Grant. They came ninth with Harry Grant.
But I guess that's also part of the fear, and it's a bit different when you're the Melbourne Storm. Guys are going to come back to you. But if you're other clubs that are not in as good a spot, you're obviously loaning him to a team who has a hole there.
Yeah.
He can fill that hole.
Big money.
If things do well, they'll stay there. And I think that must play a role in it.
Yeah. Timmy, what do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, I can't believe there's not more of it. And it's obviously been a big thing over in the UK Super League for a long, long time and very successful over there. I just think I feel like it's one not to overthink. You can have the opportunity to get a fringe first grader at your club to go and get them experience when they're stuck behind 2 or 3 other players and it doesn't look like they'll get a game. You can get them back with NRL experience. I know clubs don't care about this, but the NRL as a game becomes a stronger product as a result. You know, it feels, as you said, when there's roster mismanagement at clubs and it's not balanced and there's weak spots and there's spots with too much depth, it's just making rosters stronger across the board. I think that when there is a loan, just about every time, barring more injuries when you actually need the player back, both clubs win. I'm surprised there's not more of it. And even like a Jaden Sullivan now, I don't know if it's a formal loan deal or what it is, it's all a bit weird, but the fact that he wasn't going to get a start at the Tigers, he could go and play a bunch of NRL and first grade with the Bunnies. I think it's a great system. I think there should be more of it. And the Titans is a fantastic example, as mentioned by Blair there. They've got so many spine options. They go, all right, they're all high quality as well. So they could part ways with London for 1 year, make sure they're playing first grade, but they'd get someone very good in return for, whether it's Carter Gordon or Jaden Campbell or whoever it might be.
Yeah. I tell you what, from a content and putting the game in the paper, mate, it would be in the paper. Honestly, it would go from back page, it would be like 10, 20 pages deep of rugby league news because it would just be all about such and such going to get loaned or not get loaned.
Raiders round 1 lose Jamal Fogarty. Melbourne Storm, they've got Jonah Pezzett who's third string and he's looking for game time. Make it happen. And
then it happens, he kills it. And I remember when the Harry Grant situation happened, there were big yarns that Harry Grant was going to stay. Like there were big yarns about, are the Tigers going to be able to keep him? And we're hearing whispers because I think there was like a comment made at the presentation night for the Tigers or something along those lines. And so all the story and hype around that, and then let's say it did happen.
Yeah, he's always welcome back, by the way.
And so, look, I just think that clubs are so reluctant on the tiniest chance that we give our opposition the leg up. Nah. There's just no way.
I think it helps the strong clubs who have got big depth and they need to get some games into some players who will be in their starting side the following year or 2 years later. But you're spot on, like the clubs like the Tigers who've got to potentially let someone go. If they go to a top 4 side they've done the trade with and it goes well, you'd be very scared they'd want to stay there.
Nofaluma situation.
Yeah, well, he was desperate to stay, wasn't he? Didn't end up staying, but that's the thing. Like you can end up losing some of your better players, and then all of a sudden, 2 years down the track, you've actually given up 2 players. You've given up the player that loaned and used your club as a place to get experience, and you've also lost one of your other good players who are now starting that team potentially.
And I guess also the problem would be, let's say you just enforce it, just bring it, but now you've got a disgruntled player that doesn't want to play for you. Whereas if he never went away and saw, the grass is greener, he wouldn't be as disgruntled. He would just be. So there is that. However, surely there's a way to. Because I think the loan system, I guess the argument against the loan system also could be, are you teaching roster managers to not balance their rosters correctly, and then people would be relying too heavily on loans to a degree, even though loans would be hard to come by.
Is it potentially that there's more red tape to it than what we like from a salary cap point of view? It's like you can't just swap this guy and this guy.
Because I don't think as well with the Super League, there is a salary cap in the Super League, isn't there?
Yeah. I'm sure that there'd be some sort of logistical stuff that'd make it a bit tougher than we make out, but I said, like, the examples there in the Super League, they seem to make it work quite easily, so it can't be that hard, can it?
Just
is it maybe part of like the culture? Is it the fact that there isn't a culture here of unearth your family and everything and just move there for X amount of months, and
also is there are we more glued to our teams as well? Like, as in, if we start the loan system, all of a sudden that connection to your team becomes less to a degree. However, you look at the EPL and they've got they loan fucking half their side out or something, don't they? And they seem to be doing all right.
A few people watching.
Yeah, just a few people.
I think it'd be really good for young guys in particular that are looking for opportunities. Like you've got, what's an example? Up at the Knights, so you've got Fletcher Sharp, who's up there. He's behind KP fullbacks. Then you've got young Connor Vitano, who's not too far from getting ready for first grade. Like, I think a loan deal to bring him into an NRL system somewhere, just to get him that experience jumping in there, and then bring him back when the time comes.
Yeah.
I think there's a really good spot for it there.
Another situation, like if KO Weeks continues to kill it, you got to go like Stewart, who, you know, could go away to another club, play a bit of footy in first grade.
You know what else it would do during that shit fight of an origin period? Make things really interesting. Instead of, you know, I'm watching a team that's without origin players. Now I'm watching that team. Okay, they've got this guy from the Bulldogs, got this guy from blah, blah, blah. Just see, like, it'd just make that period more interesting, I think.
Yeah, interesting. There's a lot of there's negatives and positives. What I can assure you is I'm sure V'landys and the administration have like dived so deep into this and looked at the pros and cons, and there's probably a reason why they're not doing it. However, maybe it's just a matter of time. Who knows? Alrighty, Luca Moretti. The Eels have re-signed Moretti on a 3-year deal in a really good sign for the Eels. I tell you what, when he played last year, he was bloody good towards the end of the year. Roo, you've you know a bit more about him than I do, but when you're talking about a forward that suits this kind of modern, mobile, explosive nature, this guy was good.
Yeah, he was a real gun junior. And then he was at the Roosters. He left. He went to Parramatta. I think he potentially took his spot for granted at the Roosters a little bit. But, mate, at Parramatta over the last years, he's really come on. He's just got better and better each year. Obviously, Regan Campbell-Gillard's left. They have still got guys like Junior and Joel Fingawi. But, yeah, 3-year deal, I think it's a sign of where they see him going over the next few years.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, and he's still, what, like 24, 25? Not that old.
And he's got a bit of lunatic about him, which I like that in my front rowers.
Timmy?
Yeah, so really promising signs last season. So good to see him get another gig. And, I mean, if there's no rugby league guru, there's no Luca Moretti. So must be a nice little win for you, mate.
Coached him in year 7. 4 years later, represented schoolboys union and the league in the same year.
Stop it.
The rugby union guru.
All adds up.
Okay. Hammy, what do you reckon, mate? Ready?
Luca Moretti, knees weak, arms are heavy. the Italian international. He's played.
Mum's Moretti.
Yeah. Bit of mum's spaghetti. Well, he's got the Italian heritage there.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, I don't know too much about him, but like looks, you know, from having a bit of a quick read here, like looks like he's got all the kind of ingredients to go well. So and he's obviously played a little bit with the Eels in the past. So I think good signing, especially for a team that, you know, probably needs a bit of help in the pack there. So yeah.
Moretti
Proud
spaghetti.
Clovelly crocodile.
Moretti spaghetti, there it is. There's your business, brother. Start it tomorrow. And he, being Italian, I mean, hand in hand. Alrighty, time for when the show actually starts. It's cricket news.
Yep.
BBL, the finals locked in. Here's the top 4. Up the Barts, Hobart Hurricanes, Sydney Sixers, Sydney Thunder, the Melbourne Storm, the Melbourne Stars. What's with Melbourne and bloody Skies? Weirdos. Hobart and the Stars are the only teams who have never won. Stars were dead last with 0 wins from 5 games and won 5 games in a row off the back of Glenn Maxwell's big bat. Tomorrow, the Barts play Sixers and the winner goes straight into the grand final. Wednesday, Thunder play the Stars. Loser is eliminated. Winner plays loser of the previous game on Friday for a spot in the final. And then Sunday is the final, boys. Timmy, Hammy, speak to me.
Well, I mean, I can't get over this Melbourne Stars sort of scenario. They hit the break, you know, at the end of 2024. They'd won 0 games for the season. They haven't lost a game in 2025. Remarkable turnaround. It's all been basically off the back of Glenn Maxwell. He's been in outrageous form. So, I mean, they're going to come in 4th. They've never won a title before in the Big Bash. But, I mean, how can you rule out a team with him going the way that he is? They'll have to win a couple of games, obviously, to get the job done. As Campy pads up over here, and he's on the bandwagon for the Hurricanes. But I just think the Stars, they're only going to lose 1 player through the rest of it. Slug Webster goes out. He's off to Sri Lanka, obviously.
Tom Curran?
I think he's back till the end now.
Is he through for all of it? Because I know he signed at that ILT 20 tournament, but he might be able to finish here first. Which is
because Duckett went out, so I think he was able to come back in somehow. Anyway,
Out for a Duckett.
Exactly. And then
he's on to that.
Oh, you got Bean on that one. Oh, Beak.
But it was Ellis, Nathan Ellis.
Yeah.
Sent to us, VIP.
Customised Bean Bart's jersey.
Well, there you have it. Well, how are you feeling about your boys, the Hurricanes?
Hey?
How are you feeling about it? Top of the ladder. They've rested players. They've done a very kind of Penrith Panthers, Melbourne Storm approach. They'd already locked up the minor premiership. They rested players. Maybe opened the door there for the Stars last night to come into the playoffs. How do you think the Hurricanes are sitting, Campy?
I wouldn't keep saying up the Barts if I didn't think that they were going to win the comp.
That's fair.
Listen, obviously Queensland's my team. Tasmania, technically not part of Australia to my understanding, more New Zealand kind of areas. Therefore, I'm allowed to support, I know it is a state of Australia, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm wearing these colours. If it was of New South Wales, I would never wear those colours.
Yep.
Victoria, never wear those colours. But as I said, Tasmania, as we know, technically its own kind of unique country. Therefore, I'm allowed to wear it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Surely we're getting a bloke and Bart's like merch collab soon.
Hey, fly off the shelves, absolutely.
Bloke in a Bart. There's your Beak's bucket list episode.
There we go.
Bloke in a Bart. Get down
There
there.
we go. I tell you what, if Tasmania will come down, do a vlog, more than happy to come to the Barts and vlog the inner sanctum.
Yep.
But yeah, so I reckon the Barts get the job done. Too good, too powerful, too aggressive, too veiny, too everything.
They have got a really good batting lineup with like a lot of firepower there. A lot of guys have come back into the team. You know, Matt Wade came back from an injury. They're going to be tough to beat. I think the Sixers, that they're also going to lose Steve Smith, who's been a big part of.
Who?
They've gone quite well.
Who? The Barts will fucking towel him up.
Well, he's not playing anyway, so
Scared.
You're every I think the Hurricanes probably win that game.
Sean Abbott gone.
Yep. So there's a few
Scared.
holes there.
Scared.
But then Matty, he caught it early in the tournament. The Thunder, they're still there at $8 as well. So you know, a team with Dave Warner, he's had a great tournament as well.
Like, what do you run from, Thunder or Hurricane? I'm running from a Hurricane.
Yep.
Thunder is like, I'm
Well,
sweet.
we had Thunder up here the other night.
Yeah, and I was just like, hug me missus, like great DVD night.
Yep.
Whereas Hurricane, there's no
Different story.
DVDs there. I'm fucking out of there.
Yeah. Good point. So Kempy likes the Hurricanes then, by the sounds.
Rue, what do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, I'm a Canes man myself.
What's a cane? It's a Bart.
That's okay. Who's the Hurricanes content creator that yells and screams?
The Bev Show.
Yeah, the Bev.
The Bev Show.
The Bev Show?
He's been a bit quiet in recent times, but he did
Up
put
the
up.
Bev?
He had a big win the other day because the Canes won and the Jack Jumpers also won on the same day. So he was his parents would have been hating the noise coming out of Bev's room on that occasion. But yeah, why not? You should go down and interview Bev when you do the
Log.
yeah.
Okay.
Bloke in a Bart.
Reach out, Ellis. Let's
Yep.
get it done.
Yep.
Yeah, Hobart to win. Up the Barts. Please stop calling the Canes. That's weird. Anyway, now on to some UFC chat. Islam Makhachev beats Moicano. Wow. I mean, I knew he was a step above. We all knew he was kind of a class above, but I don't think we expected him. So it looked like Islam got dropped, but he actually didn't. When you watch the replay, he didn't. He tripped over. But I didn't think anyone expected watching this that what knows MMA. They expected a dominant victory because Islam is pound for pound the best in the world at the moment. But I don't think that we expected just to go, oh, you know what? I'm going to decide to take you down now and immediately submit you. Like, that's just... Moicano was in the top 10. I'm pretty sure he's ranked in the top 10 in the world. Like, to do that to a top 10 opponent, I understand short notice or whatever. I get all that. But do it to a top 10 opponent in your own weight division. That is unheard of. Just to make the decision, I'm going to take you out. Like, even Khabib fought Alaya Quinta on short notice, and I think they went the distance, or he might have finished him in like round 4 or 5. Islam Makhachev literally goes, okay, I'm going to stand with you for a bit, land a few good shots on you, take you down, submit you within the first round. This guy is something special, and as I said, there's a reason why he's pound for pound the best. I actually think Islam, right now, he's almost with that division. There's not really like Armin, Dana White has already said Armin is not getting a title shot. There's all these whispers about, you know, Armin getting injured a short time before the weigh-in. Dana White didn't seem too happy that it was... He said he doesn't know if it's an injury or not, whatever. He can't make that call, but he didn't seem too happy about it. Let's put it that way. You can go and watch his press conference after the card. So he's not going to get a title shot. You know, Dustin Poirier, he's already been beaten. Gaethje's been beaten. Like, I don't know who Islam fights. Now, you've obviously got, Poirier could come up. But again, with Islam's, I guess his legacy, he's been really put in this tough position because he fought, obviously, Volk, and that first fight was incredible. Second fight, short notice. And then he fights Moicano, gets him done in the first round. He's fought Dustin, but like he's actually about to equal one of the greatest ever win streaks. But when you actually look at his opponents, he hasn't really got the rub off anyone yet because he hasn't had any. He's been too dominant. There's been no superstars that have kind of like to become great. You need a rivalry, and like that's what Islam's lacking at the moment because he's too good. And so you wonder, like, do you go up and fight Bilal? I'm not sure, but absolutely dominant victory by Islam. And I don't know, like, unless you get an incredible knockout striker in this division that can somehow have take defense, I don't know at the moment who's going to match it with Islam. I really don't. Did you boys get a chance to watch any of it at all?
Yeah, well, I don't know. And again, you know far more about this sport than I do. But it looked like he did get a little bit rocked by that.
No, didn't touch him. Literally
didn't touch him.
Hit his arm.
He looked a little bit wobbly, and the commentators were going nuts.
No, well, the commentators literally said we've watched replay.
Oh, they corrected themselves. Yeah. Well, there you go. Well, apart from that, like that was really the only time that he looked a little bit kind of rattled. And if he didn't get hit, and he just
I thought it rocked him too.
Yeah.
But commentators literally said we've watched the replay. Yeah. He didn't get hit. He slipped.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, we all he's just got a bit of a reputation for just finishing guys with a submission. But to do it that fast is like, and as you're saying here, to this guy like a top 10 guy. Pretty incredible.
Far out.
Yeah, I feel like he's had a lot of fights though against people like on late notice.
Either late notice.
Does that put a little asterisk on it?
Well, that's what I mean. Like that's what's hard for Islam is that when you actually look at his title defenses, I think he has the most in the division now. And so like statistically, he's one of the GOATs in that division. But he just hasn't seemed to get the rub of greatness because he is like late notice. He can't help that Arman pulled out. Alex Volkanovski fight, everyone will say, well, Volkanovski was coming up in weight division. The second fight, everyone says, well, Volk was late notice. Dustin Poirier is a very good win, but he'd already been beaten by Khabib and he'd always known to fall short. Like, it's just hard for Islam because I just don't see anyone in that division that really, for example, what made Alex Volkanovski one of the GOATs of all time was obviously all his hard work, blah, blah, blah. But he got to beat Aldo, who was the GOAT before him, and then he fought Max 3 times and beat him 3 times. So he got the rub off Max going, I just beat 2 GOATs. So I'm the greatest ever in my division, in my opinion. Whereas Islam, it's just like, he's just in this really weird situation where no matter how much he turns up and he does his job, he just can't seem to get that big name to fight to show how great he is. And that's why I reckon you're probably going to see him move up. And what's crazy is after the fight, he actually didn't even allude to move up in weight. Because I actually would back him against Bilal to get the job done. And so, like, when I look at it, I go, I just don't know what he does. Like, obviously he keeps fighting in 155, but when I look at the opponents he could potentially fight, it just doesn't do that much for his legacy when we're talking GOAT status. But then you look at the stats, and he should be considered a GOAT.
Has he changed divisions before or not? No.
I don't think so. He's only had 1 loss, and it was just a pure, I think it was really early in his career, and it was just like, not a lucky punch. There's no such thing in a fight, but it was just a 1 punch that just pretty much knocked him out. Outside of that, he's, the closest closest fight he had was against Alex Volkanovski. But again, there's always the caveat of Volkanovski came up in weight. So it's just, it's tough for Islam, but he is truly scary. And he's so well-rounded. I think he'll go down by the end of this as probably the GOAT of that division. Probably. I'm not locking it in, but I mean, his resume is already getting there. He's just a beast, absolute beast. Definitely one of the best ever in that division for sure. All right, Merab defeats Umar, and one of the greatest displays of cardio I've ever seen in my entire life. So Umar Nurmagomedov, apologies I'm saying that wrong, Nurmagomedov, basically first couple of rounds, much better striker, more powerful, looking like he is a bit of a step above Merab, but he doesn't have the championship experience that Merab had, but also the cardio. I've never seen anything like it. We weren't just witnessing a guy that had, really good cardio, we're talking about a guy that might have the greatest ever cardio in UFC. That's how good his cardio was. I've never seen anything like it. Gets the job done, decision in the end. I had it winning by 1 round. I didn't agree with I think it was like 49-46. Didn't agree with that. I had him winning by 1 round. I thought he won the last 3 rounds. An incredible show of toughness, grit, determination, and you got to give it to him. I do think eventually Umar will probably win the belt, I think it's probably just a little bit too early for him. But at the moment, Merab, he was a 347 underdog, and he was the champion. That's how highly touted this guy, Umar, is coming through the ranks. Merab was the champion defending his belt, and he was a 347 underdog. Got the job done through pure grit and determination, and it's a really good example of like, Umar might be the better, technically more talented fighter, but Merab just has much better cardio and has grit, and sometimes that can win you fucking titles. Now onto Jiri beating Jamal Hill. This was a banger of a fight. And just the head movement from Jiri has always been his biggest Achilles heel. He's like his attack has always been really unorthodox, and the way he fights unorthodox. But he's just refused to defend. And you saw in this camp, he came into this fight, head movement, great attack. Don't get me wrong, it was a back and forth to a degree, but he was just far more athletic than Jamal Hill. And you look at Jiri's resume, like he essentially only fights either the best in the division or the second best in the division. That's how good Jiri's resume is, and he gets the job done. I don't know what they do in that division because you've got Pereira, who is, I'm pretty sure he's the champ, or at the very least, I think, anyway, he's beaten Jiri twice already, I think. Beaten him twice already. So I just don't know what you do with that. I know there's another guy that can fight coming through the ranks, but it's just a bit of a weird one because he's already been beaten twice by Pereira. But I went 4 from 4 on my tips, so that's good. That's great.
Well played.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. And yeah, bloody banger of a card. Look, I know people go, oh, the main event was over and done with, and Armin would have been a better one. Bro, Jiri and Merab's fights were frigging unbelievable. Absolute bangers. So I really enjoyed that. And yeah, there we go. That is the show done and dusted. Don't forget, guys, tonight it goes down 50% off, the biggest ever sale. 25% off Grumpy as well. Brand new shirts, all that good stuff. It's time for Face and Music, and then we'll get out of here.
It is.
Brought to
This
you by
weekend,
Sportsbet.
Triple J, Hottest 100,
Yep.
which is a very popular betting event. There's all sorts, you can bet on top 3, top 5, top 10, top Aussie artists. Today, all I want to get is your outright winning song to win the Triple J Hottest 100 for this year. And then I also want to get your the highest placed Aussie artist.
Okay.
There's 2 bets this week. It's on Saturday this week as well. Usually we find out the number 1 song around 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, but all the markets are up right now. So who are you thinking? Who are you thinking for your outright winner?
Well, I think that the favourite is pretty much, so the favourite is obviously Good Luck Babe by Chappelle Roan,
Yep.
but I'm actually going to go, I'm not here for this favourite stuff, not even second or third favourite. I got some ticker about me. I'm going to go Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter to be the number 1 song.
Yep.
In regards to Aussies, respectfully, I don't know any of these songs, but I do know the name Ocean Alley, so I'm going to go Ocean Alley.
All right, Sabrina Carpenter getting $26, Ocean Alley 13.
Yeah, that's ticker. That's
Yep.
how you bet with ticker.
Yep.
Now, you're going to bet with like low testosterone levels going forward, high testosterone levels here.
Yeah. Usually we go that way around the thing, but because Guru's been a little bit rude to me today, I'm going to go now. Probably subscribing a little bit to your low testosterone, but I just need to get a couple of wins on the board here. Murder on the Dance Floor, the Leica version by Royal Otis. It is the second favourite.
Second favourite.
It's $3.
Yeah, second
Obviously, they've had a great year with their covers. They obviously had Linger as well, which was not a Leica version. It was a cover on a separate thing that they did themselves. If that was in the market, I reckon it would be the favourite song, but that's another story.
Okay.
Murder on the Dance Floor.
Bit of controversy.
Murder on the Dance Floor, as we know, a banger in its own right.
Yeah.
But the way that these guys slowed it down, added their own little flavour to it, for me, that's been the clincher. $3 for me. That'll be going on my feed.
Okay, so you're wingers, but yeah, okay.
Yep. And, going by the same logic there, the highest placed Aussie artist, it's got to be Royal Otis. Now, you're going to bully me here. They're $1.37, but hey, a win's a win.
Bro,
If you want to come here for hard-hitting Triple J Hottest 100 analysis, listen to me this week, and I can't go past that Royal Otis.
Okay.
Maybe throw them in a multi if you need to juice it up or anything.
$1.37.
$1.37 favourites. For music as well, like where there's not, it's like it's getting selected. It's not actually a competition. That's what makes it even worse.
It's
That's
disgusting.
a competition. It's the voice of the people getting around them.
Jeez.
I will take Kendrick at $8.50.
Yep.
You're not like us fan, eh?
Sure. Then
Very much a sort of a roosters against the world kind of mentality there.
Yeah, very much not like us.
Yeah.
Even though not like us is literally the opposite of that, the meaning of it, but okay.
Yeah.
Then I'll take Spacey Jane at $5.
Yep. Okay.
I will go. I actually had Billie Eilish tickets in March. But
Eilish or Eilish?
I don't know. I don't know.
So you obviously didn't book those.
No, I did book them. I had them ages
I'm actually
ago.
jealous because she can sing.
She's a gun. I
Yeah,
love
she's
her.
a gun. Yeah.
Anyway,
I like her older stuff better, but anyway.
it's doubled up with Vegas, so I had to make a tough choice, and
yeah.
Billy's been thrown to the wolves, so we're going to Vegas instead.
Yep.
So Birds of a Feather, and then we'll go.
Birds of Feather, $6.
Yeah.
Billie Eilish. Yep.
And then I'll go Dom Dollar.
I like Billie Eilish's old stuff better. I feel like her new stuff is
100%.
nowhere near
Old
as
stuff's way
experimental and.
She does Happier Than Ever at the Grammys. Do yourself a favour. It's one of the greats.
Yeah, okay. See, her first album was like, what am I listening to? Like, we hadn't really heard in pop that kind of music before. It's so cool.
Yep.
I
Dom
remember,
Dollar, $3.
I remember the first time I thought, because she auto-tunes her voice quite a lot in her old stuff, and I was like, this chick, she's just obviously talented, but she can't sing. And then that lyric YouTube channel, oh my God, it's yellow, where they sing their lyrics. I'm forgetting what it's called again. And she started singing without any auto-tune, almost like a T-Pain moment. Do you remember the first time you saw T-Pain singing without auto-tune?
I don't.
Oh, well.
I remember the first time I saw Tim Payne Wiki Keep Live.
Yeah.
I was blown.
Well, it was, mind-blowing. Can sing. Unbelievable singer. Anyway, Timmy, Matty?
I'll go Not Like Us, Kendrick, and I'll go G-Flip.
Okay, followed Ruin, but you've gone with G-Flip for the top Aussie at $6.50. So a bit of value there. Bit of value and some really hard-nosed sort of Triple J Hottest 100 analysis as well. Good mix of stuff on the panel today.
We're a music podcast.
If he loses that, there should be a punishment.
Yeah, I
If
think
he's
so.
like a
$1.37.
very short favourite.
Maybe you lose 2 points, -2 or something.
Maybe.
Also, most likely no show next week, guys, because obviously it lands on public holiday, and I'll be in Japan. So most likely no show next week. But as always, thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for listening. I'm off to Japan next week.
Arigato gozaimasu.
What's the word? What's the word again to say thank you?
That is it, isn't it?
Oh, is that thank you?
Arigato gozaimasu.
Oh,
That's what you said. What I said when I left everywhere over there, and it was very.
Oh, you're saying bye to me right now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Bye-bye. 50% off sale, all on Bloke, new stuff, 25% off Grumpy, and as usual, go and fuck ourselves.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.